All right. Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. It is 8:06. I'm sorry for hitting this live button a little bit later than I said I would. Hello to everybody who is watching us tonight or who is going to watch us tonight. If you give me a second, I'm actually logging into my laptop so I can make sure we are where we are supposed to be. Q, do you see us up on your pages?
I'm looking right now.
Okay.
Ding, 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 ding.
I was thinking earlier today.
Yep. All right. I see it.
Okay, cool. I'm not even going to worry with my laptop right now. I'm just going to let it do its thing so I can talk. I see we got a couple viewers already. So thank you to those who have tuned in and are going to watch us tonight, comment in the comments tonight, just get involved with us tonight. Free thinkers, people ask, like, what is it? Free thinkers, I was thinking about this today, is just a group of people, self-proclaimed free thinkers, people who identify as folks who think out of the box, who would like to think more out of the box, who probably don't have your standard thought process when it comes to just certain things. We are a collective of a lot of different backgrounds. We have every color, creed, denomination in here. We have everything from Christians to Buddhists to Catholics to atheists to agnostics to, I believe, even we've got a few people who are I don't know if Satanist is the proper term, or I don't know if that's the proper way to say that. Okay. So we really are a collective of all kinds of different walks of life. So, some people get a little bit intimidated sometimes by these conversations, and there's, I can't tell somebody how to feel, but really and truly, if you enjoy conversation, if you enjoy talking about topics, Free Thinkers is definitely a group that is for anybody. And if you find that it's not, it won't take you long to figure out that it's not for you. But we are a collective of a lot of different people. So if you're interested in getting to know more about what Free Thinkers is, we have a Facebook page. It's literally just that, Free Thinkers. Jump on over to the Free Thinkers Facebook page and join it. We post topics, sometimes every day, sometimes every other day, sometimes 20 times a day. So the page is kind of fast moving sometimes. And then every Tuesday night we do this, we come on live. And for anybody who wants to participate in conversation or wants to just watch conversation, obviously this is the time to do that. But we do go live every Tuesday night like clockwork. We generally do not take breaks. You don't have to come every Tuesday. You can come every once in a blue moon. You can come every Tuesday. But we certainly do appreciate the growth. We certainly appreciate how people participate. We appreciate people watching us. We appreciate people sharing us. We appreciate people talking about us. We appreciate people, contacting us after the show is over and giving us your feedback. So if you are interested in being on tonight's show, the StreamYard link is on my page. It may be on Q's page, his personal page, but it's definitely on my page. And it's also on the Free Thinkers group page. There is a StreamYard link. You got it on your page too? Okay, cool.
Yes.
There's a StreamYard link that you should be able to just click, but I think some people, maybe with iPhones, do have to copy the link and paste and go in from that way. If you wear earbuds and you open it from the browser, the three dots, you open it from the browser, it seems to reduce the clicking noise quite a bit. So just keep your background noise down, TVs, things like that in the background off, because when we do get a big group of people, it gets to be hard to hear when folks are talking if you've got stuff going on in the background. So just wanted to kind of give a little introduction, and of course a language warning. Certainly it's up to you if you want your children to listen to the conversations that we have. But we do this at 9 o'clock for a reason. Most of our kids are all in bed at this point, and just language warning. We do have adult conversations, and we have adult language used. So tonight there wasn't really a topic in particular, but there's obviously lots of things to talk about. I titled the invitation, I guess, for tonight, Pick a Post. And so Pick a Post is something that we do when we just literally pick posts on the group page that have low volume or high volume conversation, and we talk about it. We definitely like to engage in conversation, because texting and putting messages up, you can only understand and you can only feel people's energy so much with letters posted on a group page. So pick a post is just that. Go to the page, pick a post. If you want to talk about it, bring it up here. And that's what we're going to do. So pick a post is for tonight. So we can go anywhere, everywhere, all over the place. We're scheduled to get out of here at 9:30. Sometimes we go longer. But we'll see. We'll see if we stay on task tonight and get out a little bit, get out on time or not. So with that being said, welcome to the page. Thanks for joining the show. Please share, like, share the page. And join us if you want to comment. The comment should pop up here in our StreamYard, so we should see those comments. I am not currently watching my page or the Facebook Freethinkers page, so I'm not seeing anything happening on those right now. My computer is tripping. So join the conversation. With that being said, hello, Q. How was your week?
What's up? Still early in the week.
It is. We went to the movies this weekend. Have you been to the movies lately?
Not since the last movie I saw was I don't remember the name of it. That Marvel movie.
One of them.
What's the Asian Marvel movie? I can't remember.
Oh, the 10 Rings.
Yes, the 10 Rings. And
that
I think I'm gonna go.
So great.
I guess when the Eternals come out, then my son wanted to see that. So
yeah, we are gonna definitely. Yeah, we are too. We went and saw Addams Family this past weekend.
I thought about going to see. That's another topic I had. I thought about going to see the 007 movie, but I didn't go see that.
Well, we were trying to see Venom, but Friday night, all the tickets for Venom were pretty much like front row only, and I was not about to do that. And then we thought about going to see Dune, but I was never a big Dune fan in the 80s.
Right.
And then the feedback that I've heard of people who did go see it this past weekend, they were like, mm-mm. So I was like, damn, well, maybe I won't go see it.
So now, hold on. This is the other thing that I had, continuing from last week's conversation about the Dave Chappelle stand-up.
Okay.
This is the second time that I've seen this now. Do you ever pay attention to Rotten Tomatoes?
Not really. I mean, I know who they are and what they do, but not something that I literally know. So let's go with probably no.
Rotten Tomatoes, they do movie reviews and assessments, and they basically give you a score on how liked it is. Now they give you two different scores. One score is the critics score, so actual people who write and who they're actually critics, and the other one is the audience score, which is the people who watch it. They give their feedback. Now this is the second time where I've seen Dave Chappelle's last two stand-ups, it gets like a 30-40% on Rotten Tomatoes, like it's a dud by the critics. But you go back and look at the audience score and it's like a 90-some%.
What they tell you. What that might tell you is
I think anything, like, people should lose their credentials. Like, how is it that you're gonna say something is awful but everybody else think is great?
And a 30% is awful.
Right, that's a huge
disparity. That's not a 70, that's not an 80, that's not an 85. 30% approval
they're
rating.
Saying that it is an absolute dud. And that's just one of those things, like, that's a way that people try to control the narrative. They'll try to tell you that, oh, it was terrible, it's unlike, but that's what I do like about Rotten Tomatoes, because it gives an audience score also. So everybody,
what was the audience score on that?
Like 90-some%. It was 90-some%.
Okay.
Like, so like, how could it be that far of a discrepancy?
You know what that tells me?
What is it?
That tells me that a lot of the critics are probably part of the LGBTQ community.
Absolutely.
I mean, really and truly.
No, I know that, but then
that seems to be the common denominator.
What it also tells me is a lot of these people in these positions, they don't have the ability to be objective about something.
Yeah.
Because now just because your feelings got hurt, that don't mean it's so. Like, it's like me trying to say LeBron is a trash player, and not only that, then he doesn't get my vote for MVP. And this was just because he didn't give me an autograph when I ran across him 6 months ago. It's like, so now he's just a terrible human. That doesn't take away from his ability to play basketball.
Right.
Not a free thinker. They're not free.
No. Well, and I think that, I don't know, the LGBTQ conversation is such a hot topic. And, you know, sometimes I want to have conversations about it because I think it deserves to have a conversation. But then sometimes I'm sick of talking about, you know, just the places in which those letters seem to keep popping up in, and the controversy that surrounds the things that they say, or the things that they, you know, something as simple as giving a 30% approval rating. Like, based on what?
So Sticks and Stones, they gave Dave Chappelle, the critics, 35%.
No.
The audience score is a 99%.
Come on. That's hella biased.
So it's like, I don't even know how you
weighted. It's completely weighted. Well, I mean, everybody's opinion, you know, when it comes to critique a movie is, you know, to each his own.
And all out of, you know, you got like, what is 17 reviews? So you got 17 different official movie critics. And they give it a 30. You know what happened? Let me tell you something. A lot of times in the boxing game, because I don't know if you know, if you ever watch boxing, there's 3 judges. Each judge weighs in round by round which person they think won each round. They tally it up at the end of the fight if it makes it to the end of the fight. Whenever there's a judge that their score is way off than what everybody else saw and what the other 2 judges saw, a lot of time that person will get like excused or get fired, or like, you can't be a judge anymore if your score was so far off than what everybody else saw. Clearly this dude was getting whooped.
Right.
And
what did you see?
How did you? So now you lose credibility as far as what, you just don't have credibility with us anymore. If you could watch the same fight everybody else saw and you the only person think the other guy won, you need another. You shouldn't be a judge anymore. So that's just my thought. Like, I don't how people get away with that. But that was interesting to me.
Okay, so did you see the video that I posted? And Kevin also posted it a couple times, I think yesterday, but I posted it, I want to say maybe on Saturday or Sunday. It was a video that was posted of the trans woman who was, I don't know.
I did see that.
So I don't know if she was spearheading the movement over at Netflix, or like, I didn't really catch that part, you know, other than she was involved in the conversations about protesting Dave and the clothes were being on Netflix.
They showed all that other stuff she been saying.
What do you think about that? Like, that really fucking pissed me off. Just, but people
that's all the time though. It's just funny that now people are being called out on the ish, because it's easy to look at someone who's already in the spotlight and pinpoint everything that you think they're doing or saying wrong, which is why I have a huge problem with cancel culture when people speak out of line or say certain things that they shouldn't say, because I think most people do, but they get away with saying stuff like at your job, or if you're just talking to your friend. If people knew the stuff that would come out of your mouth in the last 6 months to 2 or 3 years, you'd never be able to be a celebrity. But you have the people who are attacking these celebrities, they have the ability to attack without their own business being spotlighted, because you're just not that interesting, or people are not interested in what you're doing. That don't mean that you're less racist.
But she couldn't have been that fucking stupid to think that all the racist rhetoric that she spilled all over social media, what looked like on the regular. Yeah, but to then, so this is whole thing, to then go and have the nerve to sit up there and be like, oh, you know, Dave is this and Dave is that, and cancel him and cancel him and cancel him and cancel him, when he was just nonstop about Asian people and just the nastiness that she spoke about Asians and bitch this and bitch that and hoe this and hoe that and speak English and all this
But
other
you know
extra
what?
shit.
It's really not her though. This is what you need to understand. It's not her. It's the agenda did not do their homework when they
Man,
decided on who's going to
to
be
choose
the
that
first of all.
motherfucker.
See, this is the biggest problem right now. I don't think they've been doing their homework on anything right now. So the
Right? They
first
just take
problem that they
whoever will
did,
say something.
the first problem they already had in their mind to attack Dave Chappelle before the stand up even came out. They were planning to attack him. So then what happened is you improperly attacked him without actually watching the stand up. And now it's caused a lot of backlash towards your movement because clearly you're not even watching, you're not even listening. You chose to be outraged before it ever came out. And now when Netflix didn't bow down to you, then you tried to get a black face to go along with that to counteract what he was speaking about as far as racism. And they keep doing all these, but they didn't do their homework first. So if you would have known about this woman, you would have known all that crazy stuff she said.
I see, and I don't feel like there's no way that they didn't know. There's no way that they couldn't have known that that person was who that person was, or that that person felt the way that that person felt. I mean, these were social media posts, so it didn't take obviously but a few minutes for somebody to go to her page and scroll through their timeline and look at all this vicious shit that
people don't think about that. They don't care. Because she's not important enough they didn't think that people would actually dig into what she said. And see, because this is the thing, you can cry wolf nowadays. You can cry wolf without actually anybody coming back at you. You put everybody else on the defensive by saying that you're offended. But now, since people didn't really go for what was said, now people got more pushback. And when you got more pushback, now you can actually fight fire with fire and be like, look at what she said. That's never happened before. I just think it's funny.
Yeah, I just think it's so hypocritical. And I think that, I don't know, just listening to the things that she had put on her social media, and then just thinking about this is the trans woman, the black trans woman at that, who's standing up here at this podium talking about, LGBT this and LGBT that and protection this, protection that, when literally at the other side of your face, you are definitely inciting, I don't want to say violence, but you're definitely inciting some type of hate, vitriol for Asian people, at least in the posts that were brought up. And it just, I don't know, I have such a problem with what is happening right now with this particular movie and Netflix and the people who are calling for it to be canceled. I don't know if you saw the live that I did on the Cuties movie on Netflix.
I've heard people talking about that.
I remember when it came out and all the things that
I'm not even. It just sounds disgusting, and I'm not watching it. So
I had no plans on watching it. I wasn't gonna watch it. Like, I'd heard what people said about it. I sat down and watched it because so many posts were going around about how Netflix employees didn't have a problem with that particular movie coming out, but they have such a huge problem with the things that Dave said in the closer. And I was like, all right, again, since I don't want to talk on shit I don't know, let me go watch this movie and see what my 2 cents was. And somebody had, challenged a post that I had posted and was like, isn't that movie, or wasn't that movie talking about like dance culture? And the movie was straight up softcore porn. Hands down, there was nothing about this fucking movie that was about dance culture. There was nothing about this movie that these girls were even good dancers. There was nothing about this movie that spoke to the culture of where the little girl, one of the main characters, came from. Like, if you've ever watched, which I think most of us probably have, some super cheesy, low budget ass, like shot in the garage porn movie, like with a horrible script, that's what this was with 11-year-old girls. The way that the acting was written, the way that their clothing was, like literally everything was so fucking
it wasn't
suggestive.
a documentary. It was
hell no. No, it wasn't a documentary at all. No, it was a movie. So the base of the movie was this family moves to wherever they live, somewhere it looks like overseas, from Senegal. And the little girl, I don't know what the religion of her family was, but it was, a very strict religion. And so, of course, she comes to this new country, and meets with a bunch of, mostly white kids, mostly little white girls. And she catches them dancing one day, and she's just like enamored by them dancing. Like that just wasn't something that she probably was really allowed to do a whole lot of. So, I get that component, but nothing about this movie was about dancing. From about 20 minutes in, it was, 11-year-old girls in like leather, skin tight leggings, crop tops, very seductive everything. There was even a part of the movie where the little girl like straight up took a picture of her 11-year-old fucking vagina to post on social media. And right before this happened, like she's totally standing in the hallway with her dad, like undressing and about to take her clothes off. So it throws in this dynamic of like this daughter-father incestuous like vibe, and then it continues going on, and it just gets fucking worse. They have this dance competition, and they're on the ground and they're popping their ass, and just the way that the camera zooms in on different parts of their body, there's no fucking way anybody worth a shit at Netflix could have reviewed this video, this movie, and was like, oh yeah, this is a good one, we're going to put this one on. So to come for Dave, or any other comedian for that matter, who speaks about things that you might not like, but certainly didn't lie about the things that he said. You didn't have to like what he said, but he didn't fucking lie. To come after him, with his head on the chopping block. But that movie Cuties was adult directed, it was adult produced, it was adult written, it was adult choreographed, it was adult approved. And then they put that shit on Netflix, and it's literally still there. I guarantee you the only people watching that are fucking pedophiles. Straight up. So it's just this hypocrisy thing, like this.
Yes.
And I have such a hard time with that. Like, how dare you, right? Like, that should have been canceled. And I don't know if you remember, like, all the hoopla that came around when it did get dropped last year. Like, people were calling for it to be canceled, but there were literally people who were like, oh no, it's a dance movie. It's a dance movie. No, it's not a dance movie. They dance in the movie, but it is soft-core porn of 11-year-old girls, and they totally over-sexualize them. They absolutely... Like, I would never, as a parent, I would never allow my kid to even be in a movie like that. So when you get into this conversation of LGBTQ world, and then the pedophilia being over here on the side, trying to find their way to tag into shit, I can't help but, acknowledge that I see that happening.
Yeah. Now, I am not one of the people who try to equate one thing to another. I just think that everybody has fake, selective, well, not always fake, but definitely selective outrage, which is why I only take any group of people but so serious, because I understand 99% of people are not really for equality. Therefore, the movement and advancement of their agenda, but not actually equality for all people. So you can still do certain things to another group of people, and it's okay, because those group of people, that's not where your agenda is focused at. That's why I don't pay attention to anybody. Like, most of the people who really outrage them, I don't pay attention to it, because I know it's one-sided, and that goes for I keep saying that. I see it on all fronts. I see atheists try to attack Christians. I see Christians try to attack non-Christians. I see Black Lives Matter don't care what happened to white people. They and the LGBTQIA, if it's not your agenda, people don't care. So I keep saying this, I'm just cautious of who I decide to support. I want to support people who are actually about equality for all people.
Right.
And are equally outraged when they see one thing, when they see one group of people treated wrong, even if that's not your group. This is the world that we live in. You should want for your children and the people around you to live in a place where nobody, no matter who it is ousted or harmed or hated or discriminated. You shouldn't want that in the world that you live in. You shouldn't want anybody to deal with that.
Right. So you think 90% of people
99
don't want true justice, don't want true.
So it's selective outrage.
Damn.
See, and
that's
not only
that's a disappointing number. Holy crap.
Is. And not only that, it's not just about you it's about you conveniently excusing other things that don't pique your interest. So like even, and I could say this, probably about my, how see, R. Kelly said this a long time too.
Oh, how you gonna quote R. Kelly now?
Hold on. Think about this. The same group of people who went after R. Kelly, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't have. What the government did is a different thing to me. I don't like how they did that. But people now deciding to be outraged about R. Kelly, I don't have a problem with that. But the other problem is there's sex trafficking going on right now.
Right.
Heavily.
Right.
And even those type of stories can't gain real traction because the average everyday person, since it's not associated with some type of movie star, you'll see the headline and you be like, oh no, I don't even want to be depressed. You won't even read it about what's really going on in this country, let alone other countries, because you don't want to interrupt your day. So how offended are you that these things are going on? You're talking about him who had 2 young girlfriends at the time. Like even for real, the stuff that he's, looked at doing, that's not even, they're literally stealing people and drugging them up and renting them out like property and meat. And we don't, and like, how can that not gain traction in this country? And it's only a small underground group of people who talk about it, but it doesn't, this should be the national mainstream issue that should have been going on for the last 3 or 4 years. Think about this. Do you remember, did you see in Milwaukee where they was, where they had that house in that house, they was, like them girls went missing. I don't know if you saw that.
And they showed like a video from somebody across the street.
Yeah,
who was like recording that house,
and they taking kids out the back and stuff like that. And they like, what's going on? And they end up burning the house down. That never made national news.
No, very little traction.
Like, how could that be? That's a
good question. Why do you think that is? Why?
Because they're not really outraged about it. Number one, your average, like those politicians and those higher ups, they participate in that type of stuff.
So that, I think that's the answer, is because we think about who's the puppeteer of, child trafficking and who's allowing it to happen and who's a part of it happening. And there's too many elitists that are involved in child trafficking. There's way too many people of
that
power.
Is number one. But the other side of it is the average everyday person doesn't care enough to force traction upon that. Now that's the truth. They don't care enough.
Fuck? How does people not be enraged about children coming up? Like, why does it have to happen to you for shit to fucking matter to people? Like, and I'm sure that can be the question about all things that are against a human's rights and human violations. Why does it have to happen to you before you fucking care about something? Like, I feel like that's literally what's wrong with society, is people wait for shit to happen to them or think it's not going to happen to them. And then when it does happen, then they want support. They want people to have their back. They want people to be enraged. And then, of course, they go find these causes and this justice and all these things to try to fight these things. But why does it have to happen to a person before a person gets involved? What's up, Stokely?
What's happening?
Hello, newlywed.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Yeah, I went ahead and jump the broom and let her carry my big ass across the threshold. You know, yeah.
So what do you think? I mean, I don't know how much this you've kind of heard us talking about so far. What are your thoughts?
Well, you nailed it. I mean, what does it take for people to really, care enough? If it doesn't affect them, my background's in racism and all this other, and because it doesn't happen to some people, they don't give a damn about, what's happening to black people, black and brown people. So when we're talking about women who have, struggled forever, and kids, if it doesn't happen to their kids, they don't give a damn, and sometimes shit, if it does happen to their kids, they don't give a damn, which is kind of crazy. But if it doesn't happen to them, they don't give a shit. So
like perfect example, or another example, like, and I'm so outraged by this because people knew in Houston yesterday, some of y'all may have read about it, or you may have even seen me post about it, but in Houston just yesterday, there was a 15-year-old, I think a 10-year-old, maybe like an 7-ish year old. They were old enough to where they weren't babies, right? But they were definitely fucking children. So these 3 kids, the 15-year-old, they were all boys. The 15-year-old, I guess, eventually went to a neighbor's to use a phone to call for help. But these 3 kids, police show up, their apartment complex they've been living in for however, God knows how long. The cops show up, there's 3 kids in the house. There's a 9-year-old brother, totally fucking decomposed in another bedroom of this house. And so to be decomposed, how long a body has to sit there in normal temperature conditions to decompose. We're talking about the smell of a body decomposing. You live in an apartment complex. There's fucking neighbors next door to you, upstairs, downstairs. Like, people had to have smelled something. So cops show up, of course, they render aid to the 3 kids. They realize these kids have been here for a long time. The place is like a fucking disaster. The 15-year-old is taking care of the other 2. Come to find out, like, the 9-year-old had been dead in the room, decomposing for up to a year is what they've said. Somehow or another, like that same night, it comes out in the news that they had found the mother and the boyfriend of these kids. Fucking Harris County goes and questions this mom and this boyfriend, let them go. No charges filed, nothing like that. Let these people go. And then today it comes back. Of course, the kid died. It was a homicide, blunt force trauma to the head, so on and so forth. CPS is going to get involved, emergency, remove these children, so on and so forth. There's so many places I want to go with this. Where were the fucking teachers? These kids have been missing from school for months and months and months and months. The neighbors, the apartment management complex, like...
Well, the part about the kids, with COVID all of last year, kids haven't really been at school for the most part.
I thought that, but you're still enrolled. Even if you're doing virtual, your attendance is still counted. Like, I just don't see how 3 children from the same address are going to just go off the fucking map and nobody notices, and nobody would have noticed had the kid who was in the house not gone and I guess use a neighbor's phone to call for some help. Like, and then there's some neighbors who even had the nerve to get on there and like fucking comment like, oh, well, I fed him one day and I did this one day. What the fuck is it going to take for people to care? And I understand that, so many of us come from a place where we've always been taught, mind your business, stay out of people's business. I get all that. But you cannot have your head in the cloud so high up that there are 3 kids next door, one dead in a room decomposing for almost a year and nobody knows.
Right.
I mean, kids upon kids upon kids are taken every fucking day and turned into trafficking. We hear about these busts that they do, from here and there, and 19 kids found here and 33 kids found here, and so on and so kids found here, and it's like, I don't understand how shit like that can take place and nobody knows, or nobody says anything, or nobody gets people involved. And again, I know getting the laws involved in people's lives is not something that, most people are generally very big advocates of doing. But when we're talking about kids here being abused, neglected, sexually molested, assaulted.
I was actually going to write about that on Facebook and post some things about it because I watched Lisa Ling on CNN, Lisa Ling show. Yeah. And then I was flipping the channels and she had another special on that I watched about trafficking trans people. And before I got a chance to write about it and post it all, I got put in Facebook jail for 30 days. Because this lady was calling folks the N-word. And, me, I had to do what I do. And so I got put in jail for 30 days and she got nothing. So,
but she can say it, but you can't come after her for saying it. Don't you love that?
Right. Ain't it crazy? And all I said was, see, don't be surprised when somebody bats you in the damn mouth. First of all.
Oh yeah, you can't say that to them.
That was the threat. And
I said somebody woke up dumb and got jail time.
Man, I said, well, y'all are tripping. Y'all allow this lady to come on here and call people the N-word. And then as soon as I check her ass, then I get banned for 30 days. I said, boy, this is a trip here. So I didn't get a chance to write about it. But yeah, exactly what you're saying. I mean, people go missing daily. And I think on Lisa Ling's show, they talked to this trans person that had been kidnapped for 3 years and finally found a way to get out and basically escaped, just finally threw caution to the wind and got out. So it happens. And again, I mean, you don't want people to be all in your business, but yet here you have people missing and nobody calls the law. I mean, nobody says, hey, I've got a sister that's been gone for, 3 years and I don't know where she's at. She won't return calls. And another situation I want to say it was in Arizona, I'm not sure, where the police officer stepped on the guy's face when he was just sitting out hanging out. And one cop was on him, handcuffed him, and another police sergeant came over there and stood over his head while the man was on his back and basically punched his foot down into the man's face. And now the guy who was being arrested for no reason, had been missing for 2 years. His sister recognized him on the news. And that's how they found out who he was. Now he has, some mental health issues.
I was going to say, okay.
He has some mental health issues, but that's how they recognized him. But they had been trying to get in touch with him for 2 years and he's been homeless. He didn't look, disheveled or anything like that, really. I mean, just looked like a regular guy. And, the police were talking about, he didn't mean to step on his face. He was trying to put his foot on his shoulder. But clearly you saw this cop on the body cam, police body cam that showed this man literally like stepping on his head like it was a bug. I'm like, God, oh. So yeah, you hate to be in people's business, but yet, I mean, how do you handle situations like that where people are missing,
Well, and then on the flip side today, there was a post on one of our local sale sites on Facebook. This lady has a stockpile. You could tell she was like a mass couponer, like one of those people. And so she was posting her stockpile items for sale. And so, I don't buy any of those products. So to people who stockpile coupons, like that's never an exciting thing to me because I don't use any of those fucking products, right? But I totally dig how people can work the coupon system like that, right? And end up having Walgreens and CVS pay them when it's all said and done.
I watched this person get all of this stuff and then they had to pay them
$20.
I swear to God. It's a slick. My ex used to do that. So
yeah,
I never saw the reason for having 800 cans of green beans. But we literally went to Albertsons here in Dallas one day and we had 3 baskets full of groceries and paid like $46.
Yes.
I mean, I was like,
sometimes it'll be like a 10-cent transaction, the whole entire thing, Right. But there are some times where you have such good coupons and such good rebates, and if you know how to do it, they end up giving you money back.
Yeah.
Right. So I knew what this was because I know what this is. I know people who coupon. So this lady was just posting her stockpile for sale. And so she just posted a couple different pictures of what looked like was probably like a room in her house or maybe a spot in the garage where she had all her stuff. And so of the first like 5 or 6 comments, it was all people who were like, oh, that must be all stolen. Oh, what truck did you rob? Oh, those are all hot goods. And this one bitch, I couldn't help myself. This one bitch, she gets on there and she's like, oh, she's like, this looks really fishy. She's like, I've already alerted the police. I've given them your address, because she has her address in the post, the original seller. She's like, I've given the police your address and I've called the police to do a welfare check on you. And I was like, you stupid fucking bitch. Great. Why? Why would you bring these people into her life like that when this lady is just trying to sell goods? And even if they were stolen, one, you can't prove it. Two, that ain't your damn business. Right. So it's like, you want to get all involved in shit like that, but let a kid be missing and you turn your head. Let somebody have some shit going on in your house that you didn't heard through the walls, and you're like, oh, well, we're just gonna just act like this doesn't happen. Like, I just don't, I don't know, I have a really hard time with the mindset of the majority who, it ain't a problem until it's a problem for me. And, you know, and I think that over the last, you know, at least 5 years worth of social issues that we've seen just happening, that's a common theme in social issues and human issues, you know, is it ain't a problem until, you know, the cops killing brown people ain't a problem until they kill my kid and there's no justice, you know. You know, it just, I don't know what the answer is. How do you fix that? I don't know if you can fix that.
I don't know that you can. I think it's shit that we're going to see. It's going to continue to happen. You have, what gets me, Nikki, most of all is that you have these nosy ass people that be in your business any damn way. Right. But then when it comes to trying to save somebody, you know, mum's the word. They can't speak. They get, you know, Helen Kellerish. But you know, it's crazy. But yeah, I don't know how you stop it. How do you correct it? How do you change it? I was thinking about this just last night. Like I said, watching that show, and I was thinking, like, well, damn, how do you stop this? Because it's so prevalent, and it's one of those things that you don't realize. I mean, shit, I got kids in my neighborhood now that, God forbid, I hope this isn't the case, but shit, if some of them came up missing, I wouldn't know. I just wouldn't know. Yeah. So, you know.
I don't know. I think in the case with the kids in Houston, the only difference for me is that it's an apartment complex. So you are literally living on top of people the next wall over. And if you've ever lived in an apartment complex, you gonna know your neighbor's damn business. That's just how that works. So for that many people, yeah, so for that many people to possibly have smelled that decomposing body and nothing be done.
They smelled it. I was in the country one time.
I don't know what a human body smells like, but to be fair, when you live in an apartment complex, you just assume some of your neighbors is real nasty. You do.
But a human body,
I think it's really nasty, and you think like that's none of my business that they that nasty.
But a human body smells different than like hot trash or something. Because I'm telling you, I was on the golf walking through the country one time, and somebody had hit a dog or killed a dog or something, put it in a big plastic bag, and one of my boys took a stick and poked that bag, and I mean, I damn it, and I'm in wide open space. So a body, I can only imagine. So
I mean, people complain about the neighbor in your apartment next door smoking weed in their house coming through your AC vents. The smell of a body decomposing, it's not like an animal that eventually, you know, gets thrown in the trash. Like, it takes a long time for a body to decompose just sitting in like normal climate temperature. Like, it's literally in a room. Not like it's in a hot 24/7 or the cold 24/7. They had to have known. And then
I gotta interject. I'm gonna be the devil's advocate, and I'm gonna say, because I have experience. A lot of people don't know. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes in an apartment complex, you got to know a lot of people coming and going. So true. It's kind of like, you know, you can't keep up with everything and everyone. And sometimes you only see the perspective from where you're sitting in an apartment complex. So if I'm living on the backside, I might not know what's going on the front side. But even more, I lived in an apartment complex a few years back, my neighbor killed herself and her daughter in the apartment.
Right.
And I didn't know they was in that apartment dead the whole time. The only reason somebody kind of did a wellness check is because we have valet garbage. Valet garbage hadn't been picked up, not picked up, but the garbage hadn't been pulled back in, the garbage can. And so somebody said, maybe you check on them or whatever. And when they went in there, they found him. Now, that's across the hall. Door closed, windows closed. I didn't smell anything, but when they
see down to 60 in there, it had.
But when they opened the door and was taking the bodies out, I could smell that smell. I will never forget the smell.
That's what people say.
Because you couldn't get up. Like I said, I was across the hall from her. I couldn't get up to the stairs because the police had it all taped off, and they had most of that parking lot taped off. You could smell it down the street. The smell was so loud. And it was like that for a while. Like, it was just because they had to tear up the floors. They had to redo the whole thing basically in there because of how they've been sitting in that apartment. And a lot of times just people are like, I think of my daily routine. And if the cops would say, did you see that woman in the store steal something? Or if a crook comes somewhere and snatch something and they tell you, do you remember what he has on? Do you remember what he looked like? A lot of people ain't gonna remember. A lot of people are so wrapped up in their lives and so stressed out and so much going on with their daily lives. A lot of people don't even notice small things like somebody at the back of your car. And when you go in to pump gas, they jump in your car and take off. So it's like, it happens so calmly. I think what people come to realize is they feel like it's a part of life now. Like this is going to happen. People are going to die, and they are okay with a percentage of, like a company will say, waste. They will be okay with some kids getting snatched. They know there's going to be a percentage of it. They calculate it, and in a way that they don't care. It's not enough of a concern for them to care because they know it's going to happen regardless. And then you have to throw on where they studied this in psychology, the syndrome of the screaming woman that was being murdered outside of a complex. This is in New York in like the 40s or 30s or whatever. No one came to her aid, said she screamed and yelled and told people she was being stabbed and murdered, and no one, and people turned on their light, they looked out, no one called for the police. So it is something bigger than just, people not caring. It's something psychological that is ingrained to us to be okay. It's okay as long as it's not me.
So we normalizing, with all the normalization that's going on these days with all kinds of shit, are we now normalizing we're just okay with people being snatched, okay with people dying, okay with people,
You have to.
Otherwise, that's kind of my point, Q. That's
the average person wouldn't be able to function if you were offended the way that you were supposed to be, and in all of these different ways with child abductions, human trafficking, police brutality, just so many different things. Like, you'd be overwhelmed and you wouldn't be able to function. So the average person has to rationalize it, that it just happens.
Yeah.
What do you think those people on the train or the bus, was it Philly, where the woman was being raped? This was just last week.
Oh yeah. On the train.
A woman was being raped on the train, and people were fucking watching it. People were just standing by, and they said nobody did anything. Nobody stopped. Nobody tried.
You know what? This is the same thing. A lot of people don't have that hero characteristic that kicks in to say, I'm going to save everybody. You know why? Because you don't know the whole thing or what's going on, right? You're a victim if you jump in. You can get sued if you jump in. You can, it's so many characteristics scenarios that play out people's minds. The act will be over before they even get the courage to act, because you start rationalizing everything. You know what I mean? And so it becomes a thing where society.
I'm sorry, but
no, it becomes where society is more fear of the reaction of what they do than the action of doing it.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, like, I'm one of those people that just react. Like, I don't have to sit around, look, and figure out what's happening. I'm always like, what's going on? Like, I literally have no problem pushing grown men, whatever. Like, I don't care. But like, now that I have a family, that even that side of me scares me. Like, would I be able to rein that in so I don't unnecessarily put myself at risk if something's happening? Because it's like, if that's your characteristic, you just do it without thinking. Like, I've literally just like cussed somebody out for like fat shaming somebody that I didn't even know. Because it's just like, no, you're not gonna do that in my presence. Like, that's just who I am. But then I'm like, okay, do I need to turn a page? Because
dial it back a little bit. You gotta.
Yeah.
I'm the same way though. I hate to see people get bullied. Yeah, I hate to see people get bullied, picked on, and things like that. Especially those that can't defend themselves. So I'm that guy, kind of, but yet in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking like, well, shit, I'm old now, so I can't fight that good. Just think somebody may beat the brakes off of me.
Yeah.
I remember a good couple years ago, I was picking up my kids from school, and my kids' school is in the neighborhood, so it's not like I'm going very far. But I'm on the main road, and I got the boys from school, and I'm driving back home. It's like 3:30 in the afternoon, and this woman comes running out of a cross street, and she was completely butt naked. She had on like a jacket. So it looked to me that wherever she ran out of, she grabbed the one piece of clothes that she could before she ran out a door or a window or whatever. So it's 3:30 in the afternoon. This completely naked, barefoot woman with nothing but a jacket on is running towards the main street. I see her. She sees me. She's like, her face is in distress. She's crying. She's screaming. I pull over. Like, I can't not fucking pull over. Like, something's wrong. I'm looking from where she's coming from to make sure that there's nobody chasing her, because I don't know if someone's chasing her out of a house or someone's coming after her with a gun or coming to run her over with a car. But like, I've stopped my car. My kids are in the car. Oh, their dad was so mad at me for this, but I stopped the car, and I put the window down, and I'm like, what do you need? And she's like, can I just please get in for a minute? And I was like, fuck, yeah, of course, right? Like, I just think to myself, if I was in that situation, please don't fucking leave me. If one of my children is in that situation, please don't fucking leave them. So I stopped. I let the woman get in my car. My boys were in the back seat, and they're like, oh, shit. And I got in the front seat where, like, if some shit go down, it's going to be me and you in this front seat. Like, and I promise you I'm going to fucking win. Nobody's coming after her. There's no cars coming. Like, so I know that whatever threat she was coming from was not coming after her. We drove around for a few minutes, and she was just so fucking frantic and disheveled, and she made no sense. And I don't think she was under the influence. I didn't gather that from her. But she asked to be taken back. She's like, can you just take me back? She's like, just take me back. She's like, I've got to get my things. I've got to get out of there. And I'm like, that's what you want, I'll take you back. Otherwise, you can use my phone. You can call somebody to come get you, whatever the case may be. Like, I tried to accommodate as much as I could for what I was willing to do with my kids in the car. She asked to take her back. I fucking took her back to the house that, she said she wanted to go back to. She got out. There was people like in the front yard waiting for her. I drove off and came home and told their dad what happened, and he was so mad at me. He was like, you can't save everybody. He was like, what if something happened? What if they were chasing her? And I was like, well, I checked for that first, and I made sure nobody was coming. And like,
I would have been mad at you too. I would have been mad at you too, because you gotta be careful. People
of course you do
together to set you up.
Sure,
you know
that's true.
I mean?
That's true. That's true.
Just,
that's true.
That's hard.
My brother, baby mama, mother of his children, she was one of those heroic type people, and I think she was about to pull over on the side of the road, and she seen a woman with a baby carriage on the side of the road. She was going to help. It wasn't dark, but it was about to get dark, and she was telling my brother that she was about to pull over. He said, "You keep going, call for help." He said, "Don't you do that, because you don't know if somebody's sitting on them woods waiting for you to get out that car. You just don't know. You just don't know. You have to be careful on who you say. You don't know how they're plotting, and people are evil. So they'll use whatever means to get you, just like they use kids to get kids to kidnap. They use women to get kidnapped. You know? And I
believe
they know how to play on your heartstrings.
Yeah. No, I think, you know,
let's not add being Black in America makes this even more complicated, right?
Right.
You're trying to help somebody, and then a lot of times that involves waiting for the police, who is the last people in the world we want to deal with. It's the police, because you could have been there just to help, and you still would get interrogated like a suspect. So some years back, we were driving, I don't know if it's back to Texas or to Illinois, and a child ran across the highway. It was like 2:00 at night.
I was to Illinois.
2 p.m. I mean, 6 years old. No shoes.
You wasn't. I screamed.
Quentin screamed.
I
He's running across the highway 2:00 at night.
Oh my God.
2:00 in the afternoon or in the morning?
In the morning. Yeah. In the morning.
Ooh,
2:00 in the morning. And so, of course, you have to pull over. I mean, but then it's like waiting for the police. Well, okay, we're waiting for the police, but we're a car full of Black people with 2 grown Black men.
Right.
We've had to pull this child into our car, and now we're waiting for the police. And that's nerve-wracking, because
the truck driver left too. Like, that truck driver left. He was like, "All right, I'm out of here."
Y'all got it.
That truck
Y'all
driver
don't know
left.
this little boy. We don't even live in this state. So I'm just saying, it's like you just add stress on top of just trying to be a helpful person because you don't want to deal with the police.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, and him and I, of course, had the conversation about the kind of things that could have happened. And you know, I'm not going to sit up here and be ignorant and act like, you know, I could have prevented all things from happening, because you can't, right? But I feel as though, you know, I checked off a few things in my common sense list of, okay, but then knowing that this woman had nothing on, she wasn't a threat to me at that moment. You know, everything in that moment said that, you know, she ran into my car for a reason, that I was there at that moment for that reason, you know. And it's a trip, because when I go through the neighborhood, you know, I never not look over at that house just to see what's going on over there. Like, we don't trick or treat at that house. I don't have that same truck no more. So, like, you know, because he was like, what if they come looking for you? And and I'm like, man, I don't think oblivious, like, things like that can't happen, but there's no way on God's green earth I could have passed that woman up and let her be butt-ass naked, barefoot at 3:30 in the afternoon, running around screaming for help. Like, I was just not going to be that one. And then I guess if all hell fucking broke loose and she had a bomb on her and she blew up our car, then I guess it was meant to be. I don't know, but there was no way I could have let that woman be in that situation. And I don't think that I have, like, this savior complex by any means, but far too often people do turn their head the other direction when, you know, somebody does genuinely need some help. And yeah, of course it is scary in some situations, and we do put ourselves in jeopardy in some of those situations. Yeah, like Tiara, the pulled over and, you know, stopping with the baby thing. Yeah, that ain't, you might not get my attention. Like, not if I'm by myself and I can, you know, pull back from behind you and call 911 and get you some AAA or something. But, like, I'm not getting out of my fucking car. That whole broke down car thing is like initiation, you know, 101.
Ted Bundy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. But I'm with you, Nikki. It's like, to me, some things you have to let your humanity take over, and it's worth the risk. And if it goes wrong, there are some things worth dying for. Like, I mean, it just has to be some things worth dying for. I know that sounds horrible, but I mean, if we all decide that nothing is worth dying for and there's no risk we will ever take for each other, I mean, this is just going to be a horrible place to live.
I agree.
So what do you think about the people on that train that just
watched and
didn't say anything?
See, to me, that's one of those things I'm like, if I don't care what that person would have had, that would have been something worth dying for. I can't imagine ever seeing something like that happening and not just
I don't think that I could have
caution to the wind and thinking, what can I do to help?
I don't think I could have just stood there and watched either.
Fuck no. Like, are we that desensitized as a society that we could see that taking place? And we just, oh well.
Well, let me throw one more thing out there, though. Out of all the crazy people, there's a fraction of the crazy people who are really crazy. Most crazy people, their craziness has limits, and they're also opportunist crazy people. So for those people, you can gauge who crazy. Even the regular crazy people, they can gauge who's on that train, and they're like, oh, they're not going. There's certain people that they know that I ain't gonna be able to get away with nothing doing anything crazy, because that one right there, they're gonna get at me.
Yeah,
like they know that. So if they ran across me or Stokely, unless you the small fraction that just don't care crazy altogether, which he might have been. If you crazy enough to do that on there, you crazy, But it's like, if you're gonna get away with it,
you're right.
But you can peep the scene, and there's a lot of crazy people who I've seen who claim to be crazy until they came across real crazy. I'm like, oh, you fake crazy.
Right.
You came across real crazy and you changed your tune up all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So a lot of that has to do with opportunity. You know what you can get away with around
an opportunist. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I was reading an article about the kind of off subject, but we're talking about what crazy is. The MMA fighter who stabbed his two sisters with brass knuckle knives or whatever. And oh man,
I didn't either.
The MMA fighter. And
I don't watch news, but
his bipolar level was the highest they had ever registered. But he didn't kill him, but he injured him severely, and both of them almost died. And the judge released him because he was technically crazy. He released him to his parents and a doctor, and he can't travel unless he's with two of the guys that he trains, because he's a licensed MMA fighter. And those two people are supposed to be able to control him if he gets out of hand. But the judge said he is being released because he is technically crazy, and he has to stay on his medication for the rest of his life. If he gets off his medication, he will go to jail. If he travels without his parents or his two guardian people, he will go to jail. And I'm thinking, like, this motherfucker just damn near killed two of his sisters. And crazy's crazy. I'm not one to argue about how crazy you are or this, that, and the third, but that's crazy enough to be locked up. You don't let somebody free like that.
No,
in my opinion.
I'm gonna say the judge is crazy. That's what the problem is.
That's what I'm thinking too.
But what in the Michael Myers is going on here? Like, you going around stabbing your sisters? That screams Michael Myers.
Yes,
like,
crazy.
What are we doing?
But the judge to rationalize all of that bullshit was crazy to me too. But you know why? Because they know that they have been failing the mental health in this country. Like, we closed down a lot of mental facilities in the 80s, Reagan, that was there to help and treat people with these societal issues and disorders and things like that. We closed those facilities down. These parents can't handle that. And then for him to be an MMA fighter, where we already know
with football concussions that there's been several cases of where they committed suicide. You also know with wrestlers that have had concussions. There's a family, I forgot what his name was, in, I think, Southern Georgia. He killed his whole family and
Chris
himself.
Benoit.
Yeah, thank you. So,
not that I know crazy people, but
right. But no, that was the whole thing. It's like, so you put MMA fighting on someone that's already suffering from bipolar disorder. How does that make sense to keep letting him fight?
Beating his fucking head up, literally beating his fucking head up.
Right.
Like, every blow is more damage and more trauma to the brain that clearly has already got chemical imbalance.
Right, and then the thing, just somebody piss him off, he go ham on them and kill them.
I don't think if I was an MMA fighter, I would never fight him. Like, that's just, I mean, it's one thing to know that somebody could pulverize me in this ring, but when you switch on that crazy switch like that person is literally a threat. If this man goes out and kills somebody in the ring, my ass is going back for this judge who let this person out in the MMA division, who let him come back to the ring. You are a threat to society.
I am a firm believer in, and not everybody believes this, but I am a firm believer. If you are real crazy, some people just don't deserve to be here. And I hate to say it that way, but that's the way I feel about it. If you are that crazy and you have literally tried to take the lives of two of your sisters in your parents' home, you taking up oxygen and air and space and
well, but that's also not understanding mental illness, though. That's not understanding mental illness, because
I get that.
If he were to be medicated, and if he were to find the right medications, and if he were to have the right environmental, stimulus and behavioral cognitive therapies and things like that. I mean, you can be bipolar for your entire life and not go back into those manic cycles. Yeah. Yes.
Right.
But once that's taken place, everything has to change. Like, straight up.
I'm thinking like folk like Jeffrey Dahmer. He didn't need to be here, and he was crazy. But that's the thing, is going untreated. Do I have the right to say, yeah, that person doesn't deserve to be here? Not really, but it's like, damn, we this guy got a break. The judge said, yeah, you can go free. No time served, nothing.
Well, with a lot of these serial killers and people with these deviant disorders, they do, a lot of them walk. A lot of them are very smart and intelligent, or walk, or they don't have laws or things to keep them, behind bars. And so there were several times people had said things about Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
And they didn't listen. So a lot of the stuff is preventable. People do come up, people do say stuff, and then they don't do nothing. So we got to fix our justice system. We got to fix our healthcare system that deals with these things.
Well, and you think about, like, in the 50s and 60s. I know this is the absolute worst term to use, but like, I grew up always hearing my mom call places the nut house, right? Like, you had not necessarily insane asylums, because everything that wasn't normal back in the day was fucking labeled insane, right? And that's a miscarriage of justice when it comes to mental health issues, right? Like, if you were that guy's parent, the MMA fighter, if you were his parent, we can't just keep leaving dangerous people up to their parents. We can't just keep giving them back to the places from which they come from, because that's not working. And when you don't have the resources, and your child has gotten so big that now they can completely beat you up and do all of these things, like, judges, if they can't hold them in jail, they send them back home. There are very few mental institutions that you can go to that are not voluntary, where they're going to keep you and they're going to treat you. So many of these mental institutions today, and even the ones that you pay for, they fucking just load you with psychotic medications, antipsychotic medications, and they benzo you down, they barb you down, and there's no treatment, there's no therapy, there's no problem solving, there's no maybe fixing this issue. And so the mental health component, most of these folks, if they aren't required to stay somewhere by law, they go to their 30-day inpatient place. They feel better because they've now been on their medication for 30 days. They get back home, all shit breaks loose. Let's say your home environment is not a very healthy environment. You go right back to the same environment. It's like anybody who leaves a penitentiary. You go right back to the same environment. It's not going to take long before you're doing the same shit all over again. And if they're not medicated and they don't have support services and there isn't a clinic where they can get medication or therapy or a counselor, it's usually drugs. So now we have somebody who has got mental health issues who speed methamphetamines makes the voices go away. Speed methamphetamines makes me feel like a normal person again, or whatever other drugs the person chooses to use, cocaine, heroin, whatever the case may be, alcohol, drown all that shit on out. Society, again, it kind of goes back to what I said in the beginning. Why does it have to happen to us for us to fucking care? We shouldn't have to have a family member in our family lose their fucking marbles and beat our grandmother to death or some type shit before we care about mental health, before we just quit calling people crazy or calling them addicts and throwing people away like, oh, this is just what they want to do. They're homeless. They choose to do this. Why does it have to happen to us for us to care about what is happening to our neighbors?
And a lot of times these people are crazy because half the time their parents made them that way. You know what I mean? You send them back to the home that really was the
where it all started.
So how are they ever going to get help?
Yeah.
How are they ever going to get help? So it becomes a cycle.
It is. It's literally the cycle of abuse in some form or fashion, and it just continues to revolve. There's no dollars in getting people help. You have to have money if you want to actually get some help. If you don't have money, if you don't have insurance, if you don't live in a community where there's funding for mental health assessments and treatment, and then even if you get the assessment and the medication, sometimes that's all you get. You don't get therapy. You don't get to sit down and talk to a counselor. You don't get to get down to the root of the cause. And so many people have been misdiagnosed for so much of their life. So many people have done so many drugs and taken so many pills that they're sick of those things as alternatives or as the treatment. And then you have somebody who has a bipolar manic episode and pulverizes their fucking family. Yeah. It's a lose-lose situation for everybody, but it becomes society's problem when things like that happen. And it's sad because
on the other cheek. Just think about how they think about it when it's white, but when it's black, it's not seen the same way.
Yeah.
You think about even these mass shooters.
Yeah.
He was suffering from mental illness, but yet the boy that goes shoot up the block, he's good. He's fit to stand trial. When black people got trauma. Do you understand how much trauma black people have and PTSD? We don't have to go to war. We don't have to go to war to have PTSD, but we're not labeled. We're not given treatment. We don't have the financial help and backing that other cultures and groups of people get. So it becomes even that when we diagnose it, we only diagnose it for the few, and only the few get help. So it becomes a whole nother layer of problem.
Well, you see how they did the crack epidemic versus the heroin epidemic. You see, I mean, that's in our face.
You mean crack versus opiates?
Opiates, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Because there's a big difference between heroin addiction and opiate addiction. Right. I can have an opiate addiction. You have a heroin addiction. And you are not salvageable. I get to go to all the rehabs because it's just pills, right?
Exactly.
So I want to make sure I was following you.
They handled that.
Yeah.
And we're just throw our asses away.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get the white folks the help that they need, that they desperately need. It's crazy, but
Well, another perfect example is, I'm sure y'all have all seen today, the judge in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. So the little youngster who went 2 states over with his mama. Yeah. So the judge, so the judge has, I didn't hear about it. The judge has ruled that the victims that Kyle shot and killed or injured are not allowed to be called victims in the fucking trial. You can refer to them as protesters or rioters, but you are not allowed to refer to the people he fucking killed or injured as victims.
Bullshit. I'm telling you. Excuse my French. I don't cuss that much, but this is some bullshit. You see, we're getting further away from the the law, and judges are in on this bullshit too. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
And we know this. We know this, but it's like, again, why does it have to happen to us before people give a fuck? Because there's a whole lot of people out there who will still swear by the judge. It will swear by the police and swear by the sheriff and the this and the that. And it's like, how many more instances of bullshit is it going to take for people to identify that the justice system is not the justice system? They are part of the problem. To say that you can't call somebody a victim when they actually are a victim of a crime, this judge is already fucking biased. He's already put the wheels in motion that he's going to have this kid's back. That I don't know if it's a jury trial or not, but this judge is going to try everything in his power to let this fucking kid off. It reminds me of the drunk driving case in
Texas.
Yes,
where the little boy, Ethan Couch, the white kid, who
suffered from affluenza.
The affluenza, and how that judge, just patted that poor little family on the back. And I feel like that's exactly what's about to happen in another case in Houston that just happened recently of the 17-year-old kid. I think he's Middle Eastern of some sort. I don't know where, but he's definitely he's Middle Eastern of some sort. But he, 17 years old, was valet parking, which who the fuck hires a 17-year-old to valet park, first of all? But 17 years old, valet parking, was in somebody's car, was in a customer's car, was in a parking lot somewhere doing donuts in somebody's car. Police officer shows up, hits the lights on the car, kid takes off running from the cops, crashes, loses control of the car, crashes into 3 fucking people, kills them, nosedives into a ditch, hits a tree. He breaks his leg. His passengers flew him from the car. Kid gets arrested for 3 counts of, I think it's 3 counts of murder. They had, said that there was some signs of intoxication, whenever the incident happened. So possibly going to upgrade his charges to intoxication manslaughter. I think it was 3 counts of murder, and it was $100,000 bond on each of the 3 counts of murder. They just fucking reduced it to $60,000 per person. Somebody paid to get him out for bail. So he's out on bail and he's not allowed to drive. They've taken his passport and he's got a curfew. Oh. Yeah. Just give him the keys. Just go ahead and let him go. Just let him walk. Just go ahead and let him go. Just go ahead and let him go.
That's called money.
It is. It is. There's some privilege involved in that family that allowed them to, 1, reduce the fucking bail, and 2, let him out with what I felt like were bullshit, stipulations. This is a 17-year-old kid who has killed 3 people. And those 3 people that killed were also valet at another company. They were all on shift somewhere. So then this other company just lost 3 of their valet drivers, it's just, I can't help but think that this is the parents, this is the parents doing, right? To have a kid who's 17 years old who thinks they can joyride somebody's car, run from the police, have no insight to, oh shit, this is wrong. I need to stop. Like, this is dangerous. And then get out, get his charges, not his charges reduced, get his bail reduced, get out and just get to sit around until it's time to go back to court where these 3 other people are dead and their families are, I don't know. It just seems like it's not my problem until it's my problem for a lot of people, and I just have a really hard time with that realization.
Rich.
Yeah. So it's not gonna. That kind of reminds me a little bit. I know we ain't got time. Some who in the thread might have been Tierra asked if we are living in the Matrix currently.
I did. I did.
Mm-hmm.
To what degree do you think? Like, do you think the same way that you see the Matrix is the same way that we actually live in the Matrix, or like how do you view it?
I think you can look at it and see it in different ways, right? You can say it in the degree of like being controlled. I believe that we are being controlled. And it's done in a way like they herd cattle. Like you kind of have to move through the system the way it's designed. You think that you have no one has control over you, but technically they do. You can look at it in forms of disease, poverty. These are all things that we actually can control, but they don't want to control. So you look at the Matrix and it's a system built where it's not reality. And I feel like we see it as reality. I mean, we can touch our face, we feel, but are we really in reality when we're not in control of our own selves?
So
I agree with you.
Does that lean more toward a spiritual validity when it comes to, if we acknowledge, I mean, because that's what a lot of religious and spiritual things come from. Hey, I know you're living in this body, but you are not actually this body. You are a spirit realm. You are of another existence. You need to tap into this version of yourself versus the corruptible version that will eventually pass away. So I mean, if we look at it from that aspect, are we more valid to look more from are we more valid to look more into religion if we have that same mindset?
I think we even when we don't practice religion, we're practicing religion in a sense. You have your house rules, right? But yet your house rules is not going to dictate in the world, right?
So religious people are not as crazy as some people, and I'm not even talking about any particular religion. I'm saying religions in general that subscribe to there being more than what we physically, tangibly experience.
No, they're not crazy. No. It's just everybody you can see something the same way somebody else and they may see it differently, but it's the same thing, whether we know it or believe it or not.
I was going to say too, about living in the Matrix. I mean, soon as we turn from a agricultural society to cramming in cities, like that is living in the Matrix. Like I won't say it's not real, but like I have maybe 10 pictures up on my wall right now and 500 pictures in my phone. So what am I leaning more on? Well, I'm leaning on these devices to catalog my life. I don't have a bunch of picture albums no more. That's the Matrix.
Very much so. Marketing is the Matrix. To get you to see what to buy. It's almost like we're programmed, like we're a chip, a computer. You think about Apple. Apple, people get pissed that Apple made their phone slow down so you get another one. No, Apple's brilliant. Apple's brilliant because they found a way to manipulate your phone, and you're okay with it. You
definitely had an issue with that.
Mm-hmm. And it slows down because guess what they're saying? Well, we got technological advances, so you got to keep up with the time. And if you want all these features, you got to upgrade. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of areas in our life. If you want to get ahead in life, you need to do this. You need to do that. If you're going to, it's just so many different instances I can see it in a form or fashion of living in a matrix.
And think about it, our whole lives right now, we are relying on computers to keep us going for everything. If you don't have all your money stuffed under your bed, you are relying on computers to keep track of it.
Yep.
That's the Matrix.
Yep. Controlling you, controlling us. Think about it. To get up, you need an alarm. You got reminders on your phone about every little thing you got going on. You got emails to give you communication. Like, it's controlling us. Why do you think Facebook is so powerful?
Do y'all do anything to try to live against the Matrix? Do y'all have y'all given up any of the conveniences? Well, yeah, I mean that's one great way, right?
That's a very good way.
Turn off the news.
You have to limit the programming.
I've given up the news completely.
Good.
You got to limit programming. I'm mute even when I'm watching YouTube. Really? When the commercials come on and I mute the commercials. I'm like, I don't need to hear what you're trying to force into my head. I mean,
I every once in a while during the week I'll catch because I don't have cable. Like I haven't had cable for like I don't know 10, 15 years. I got bunny ears on all my big screen TVs. I don't have cable. So like the TV will just be on for background noise, but I'm home with the kids 24/7. They're doing they're at home doing school, and so I'll have the TV on just for noise. And 24 comes in the best on my bunny ears downstairs, so it's like I catch The View by sound, a couple days out of the week, and that show makes me want to just fucking throw my TV into like oncoming traffic so much because right now. They are so heavily pushing, of course, the vaccine mandates, right? But it's just like whether you are or you are not for them, when you hear how they talk about it or when you hear them instill the fear, when you hear how I literally can get a couple seconds in and I'm like, I got to turn this shit off. I'm like, I can imagine how many typically women probably are sitting at home right now listening to these 4 or 5 women just say the same thing over and over and over and over and over and beat it into your head that you're gonna die if you don't get this. And it's like, stop. You flip it to the next Good Morning America, same shit. You flip it to the next Today Show, same shit. You flip it to the next CBS, whatever, same shit. And it's like, so I applaud y'all for turning off the news. I think the news is good to obviously catch the weather, right? To know what's going to happen tomorrow, when you wake up, what kind of weather you're going to have. But outside of that, the news is absolute programming, and there's very few news sources that are not biased news sources, and so I wonder, like, the question about living in the Matrix or not. Like I definitely live by having this phone, accessible, but like I really do try to be off the grid. I really do try to be as less dependent on the things that have made our lives so convenient and easy, because I do acknowledge how much of that stuff does have control over us and how much it does take over, just our daily functions. You think about, I know you guys had the freeze too, February, Tierra, but like when our city was frozen for a week, like, there was literally people who it didn't even occur to them that if you have a gas stove, you can light that shit. If you have a fireplace in the house, you could light that shit. But some people didn't even have flashlight or batteries, for a flashlight, or didn't even have, some of just the basic necessities that you kind of need to have in shit hit the fan scenarios. And I had hoped that experience for a lot of people, seeing how kind of crippled they were to no power, no internet, no electricity, no refrigerator, no nothing, that more people would think a little bit outside of the box on that. And like today, you ask people if they have a generator, they're like, "Oh no, I'm gonna get one though." And now again, generators are expensive. I get that, right? But like, have not taken the steps to try to, like.
Can I say something?
So I'm gonna scare y'all. Go ahead. I got a comment after you.
Feminism is a part of the Matrix.
Feminism is the part of the Matrix?
I agree.
Why do you say that?
Explain what you mean
explain.
by that.
Why do you say that?
Let's go into. I like this. Let's go.
If all of these systems and these lights went off tomorrow, we would sing a whole different tune about feminism. If the lights went off tomorrow, we would all be looking for the strongest
for a man. I need a man to cut up some wood.
Feminism is a part of the matrix.
Interesting.
And then
I agree.
I'm gonna say, watch. It's the little things y'all we not noticing, right? So we're going to digital coins, digital virtual money, basically. Okay, so we don't know who controls all this. Mm-hmm. They're already doing it by saying donate, round up your change, round up to the nearest dollar to donate to a program. The reason why is because they're doing away with coins first. Okay,
they don't want to give change.
They don't want to give change. So pennies is the one that's most the most, that's getting wiped out quickly.
Which they should do away with pennies. You should do away with that.
Possibly. But
there's what can you buy for a penny?
It don't matter. Them copper pennies is there for a reason. Pennies is pennies for a reason.
Up to the next, you can round anything up to the next 5 or 10 cents. That's a different story. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But when you start getting rid of one, you come for them all. Because then it becomes now it's like, well, why do we need a nickel?
That's your precedent. There you go.
I don't think we need nickels either. We can start at dimes and quarters. I think dimes and quarters. I think you should start at a dime. Anything you can round it up or down to the nearest tenth. There's nothing you can do with pennies or nickels.
You can't with a whole bunch of them. You can't with a whole bunch of them. Shit.
Start adding up dimes and quarters. Get rid of pennies.
I got a water cooler.
Yes, sir.
Yup. Big old jugs and just throw change in there.
Yep.
And I'd have been on about 4 or 5 vacations fucking around with change.
And you know what? If get rid of the pennies and the nickels, if you got that water jug full of dimes and quarters, that money gonna be a lot more than pennies that's taking up space.
People are more inclined though to use their quarters and their dimes. Them pennies go in that water jug. Like I grew up with a dad who had at least 4 Ozarka jugs in the closet at all times. Always. But I'm also a cash stasher. I'm one of those people who I don't put money in the bank. Like my money is if some shit go down, I gotta have some cash on me. Like
they're trying to do away with
my grandmaster.
My grandmother.
I'm sorry, Tier. I cut your point off, and I ain't let you get to your point. What was the point you did?
So I'm saying that they're getting ready to get rid of all the coins, and you got to remember, coins was used in wars when it was a shortage in the bullets. They take away. Just think of they taking away a big company that manufactures guns and bullets, and you have none. People were using their change. It's already happening in Europe and in Asian countries where you're literally a card, a number. You don't, you weigh your food, and I mean, you can put the clothes on a belt, and it weighs it and tells you how much it costs. And you already got an account set up, so it just takes the money from there. Like, didn't we read about that in the Revelation? I'm just saying.
That's the Matrix type shit right there.
Well, have y'all been to any businesses that are card only that do not accept cash?
Yes,
I have. I won't go. I can't go back.
I posted that on Facebook about 2.5 years ago. I said, this is the beginning of the end.
And then COVID sped it up.
I feel like they got to use COVID as an excuse. Oh, we don't want to exchange money anymore, so you can't do cash anymore. But I'm like, it just seems like a convenient excuse to push us all on this.
Absolutely.
To using that chip on that card, that's what that's about.
And because money can be hidden. Plastic is not. Online transactions, you can't hide money like you can hide cash money.
That is true.
It's easier for people to play around with your money online. It's easier for people to take a little bit out and put a little bit.
Yeah.
A little of that. They can't do it when it's in your pocket.
Nope.
So
that show happened to me last week while you playing.
Have everybody's money online.
It's funny you say that. I just went through that last week. I don't know what the hell was going on. I'm here. I'm getting ready to go to Mexico and get married. and something said, just check your little bank account. Oh, thank you, sweetie. Just check your little bank account. And so I checked it. They had got your boy for $1,058, and it was all like $3 transactions, $9 transactions.
Oh, they did me.
But it was like a gang of them.
They did me like that too.
That's just crazy. And I'm thinking like, this is like my little golf money stash. And if I want some new golf shoes or something like that.
Right.
I'm looking, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And 2 days later, I'm supposed to be in Mexico, and I ain't got time to deal with this. But luckily it was, my little old play around account money, but they just put it back in there today.
Wow.
Yeah. They did that to me right before I went to Puerto Rico. Somebody was doing small transactions, and it was just all I could see is like my messages was going off like boop, 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 boop,
yeah,
boop, boop,
and it was like $3 here.
Yeah,
$3 here, $6 there, but it was like hundreds of them until it added up to $1,058. So
I mean, they can hack it. They can hack into our power grid, so you can tell that like they have control. Like, who's really setting the terms for this power? Your power, like literally your power and what you use. How you know if they're lying?
Right. Oh, this is a good topic. This is a good topic.
This is one of the reasons why I refuse to put the toll tag on my windshield of my vehicle. At the time, I didn't even have a debit card. I didn't belong to a bank. So I was like, I don't have a fucking card to put on file. I would just pay the 70 cents at the window every time I go to the toll booth. Well, then you can't
do that no more.
They fired up. Yes, they took all the associates. Everybody lost their fucking jobs. Yep. And there were no longer people in these booths that they spent millions of dollars to build on these toll roads.
Think about all that money they wasted. And see, the tolls in Dallas, they were supposed to be paid for back in 99 was the year that they were finally supposed to be paid for. They built about 4 more of them motherfuckers and 4 more tollways. And now damn near everything in Dallas is a tollway. So, I mean, you ain't got no choice.
I refuse to ride on the toll roads. I will not ride a toll road, and I would not put that sticker on my car because again, I did have a credit card at the time, but I was like, I'm not putting my card on file for little shit like that. $3 here, $6. I don't have enough money for y'all to be taken out of my account any damn ways. I don't have no play money anywhere, so I need all my $6 transactions. But so many times you have to fight your bank to get your money back. You have to fight whoever took your card from the gas station swiper. Like, I am a cash person for a reason. Like, it's very rare that I use credit or plastic. There's too many breaches that happen, with your data, with your secure information when it comes to plastic, and then of course you've got all the people who now have, like Samsung Pay and Apple Pay, where you don't even have to have your card on you. Your shit's just in your phone and you wave it and boom, it pays.
Pretty soon they say that chip gonna be in that finger in a minute.
Yes,
that's where I will draw the line.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to draw the line.
But people are like excited about this. They're like, oh yeah, I can't wait.
By the time that this is what they. Oh well, yeah, they already. So what you just think about, they know this. They know there's a certain level of people that's gonna kick back. So they're slowly pulling away your ability to operate without these things. Right. So by the time they're ready to put it in your finger, it's gonna be either
you do it
or you're gonna have to disconnect totally from society as a whole. And most people don't want to do that. That's just like, think about something simple as the terms and the terms and conditions of service. What if you disagree with something on those 30 pages? Is there something that you can refute and say, well, no, I disagree with this? No, if you either take all of this or you don't participate in what we have to offer. And 99.9% of people say, well, I'm just whatever it say. It might have told me that I have to give my liver up 20 years down the road, but I don't know. That's what it said. So I just got to go with it because I want to use the service. So you say that now, Ivory.
I ain't put no chip in my body.
By the time they're, well, Ivory, this is the other thing. Are we standing up against them forcing the vaccine on people? Precedent. It's the little stuff. If we allow society to think it's okay to demand and then see, and this is the trick. This is the trick too.
Thank you, Q. Thank you.
This is the trick.
No,
that you keep hearing them say, well, it's a lie. We're not forcing anybody to take anything. You still have the right to do what you want. That's a lie. Mm-hmm. If you pull back away from jobs, if you make things harder for people just to regularly function, and then you say, well, you still got a choice. No, you don't. If you pull everything away from me, you limit our choices.
You have a choice, but it makes it harder. It's a harder choice.
that when they say you have a choice, they're really lying though.
It's not a choice.
Yeah.
If they're going to pull away all of the civil freedoms, they're taking away your liberties so that you comply. That's not an option. That's not a choice.
That's correct.
So yeah, I mean, and you know, and I'm not passionate about it because I'm passionate about it, but like that's just a perfect example of where they are going to force you to comply.
That's my whole point. If we as society are not outraged against and this is the whole thing, whether you for it or against it. I can be for vaccine, but I'm against you forcing people to do it. People need to stand up against whether we think it's okay. Just because I might be for it, that don't mean I'm for people forcing you to do it.
Right.
That's something totally different. And if we don't push back on those things, then that opens the door for you eventually taking more that chip 20 years down the line. However, you're gonna be putting that chip in your finger. Putting the chip in your finger because you didn't stop them ahead of time from forcing other.
You can come visit me on the farm. I can. You can refer back.
See, the vaccine is one of those things.
How come you ain't on the farm now?
This is the precedent.
You already be on the farm right now.
This is the precedent. Watching how we are handling this mandatory vaccine thing. This is the fucking precedent. And people are, but they're concealing it in this health fear. They're concealing it in this. Oh well, if you don't. You know, look at what you're doing to those that choose not to get it. It's all your fault. When at this point, we know that that's not really the fucking case. But they're still pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing because if we give up our rights, we lose them forever. We don't get them back. They're not giving them back to us. So something as simple as the abortion law, you know, whether you are or are not for abortion or not, like that's still giving consent. Like they're taking things from us that we may never be able to get back, and they do this in the guise of fear. They do this by scaring the shit out of us, making us feel like we have to do these things, and then before you know it, like I watched this thing earlier. I don't think I sent it to any of y'all. Actually, it was on Instagram, and it was like a 1984 KGB officer basically everything he said about, I have to post it on the page. Everything he said, it was lined up with all the things that are taking place right now in current society. And this shit is, we got a fucking road ahead of us that I don't think most people are prepared for. And this laying down and just letting them do what they want shit, we are in trouble. We're gonna be in trouble.
Dead in the next 40 years before this stuff really.
Shit, I don't think it's gonna be 40 years though.
It's before it get real bad. I'm gonna be a lot older. It's gonna. I think. Okay, hold on. How long do you think, Nikki?
It's already happening. It's already.
I'm
really
sure.
Like, it's like you actually realize what's happening and you can't do anything about it.
But they can't do anything about it. I wouldn't be surprised if within the next 25 to 50 years, we wouldn't be in that situation. You know what I'm saying?
In the next 20 years, then it's going to be, things are going,
But think about how fast COVID or the COVID excuse has changed things. I mean, right now we've got this inflation shit going on. We've, you just, when COVID first started, it was the jokes. But it was the first.
Y'all not outraged about cancel culture. Like some of this Dave Chappelle stuff is the first time where some people actually was like, hold on, y'all kind of going too far. I've been saying the same thing about cancel culture with all. See, y'all didn't get outraged about Bill Cosby or R. Kelly because they're despicable human beings. Being a despicable human being does not allow the government to overstep their bounds. If you're not outraged about that stuff, you are helping continuing what's going to happen later on down the road.
Well, but the Bill Cosby and R. Kelly scenarios, those to me are different cases altogether. Like, like for me in particular, I never had a point of view about Cosby, because I understand the dynamics of the fucking 70s and some of the things that took place. Like I don't have a judgment on Cosby's situation. I definitely have a judgment on R. Kelly's situation. So I don't know what you mean. I don't know what was done to him that is in question that could be comparative to Bill Cosby's situation.
Not just I'm saying the means and the methods that the government used to put them, like you change it to sex trafficking and racketeering and all these other labels that don't apply.
Did some sideways stuff.
They did a lot of sideways stuff, but people who just don't like them, they'll overlook the things that was done wrong just because, bottom line, he should be in jail anyway. So however they got to do it, you're okay with that. That's
perfect
wrong.
example. Q, when Apple scanned everybody's fucking phone to look for what did they say? They were looking for child pornographic material or something.
That or abuse, any form of
they were looking.
Type of material.
And you didn't have an option to opt out. Like I wouldn't. I posted last week about the conversation between getting an iPhone or getting because I have to get a new phone. But in reality, I'm not getting a fucking Apple product. I'm not supporting Apple products. Like I know that any phone could seriously run through my phone and see what's in there. Like again, those 30 pages of terms of service. But for Apple to come out and say, we gonna scan your shit and whatever we find, we're gonna do whatever we choose to do with this information, and you don't have an option to opt out of this.
Right.
No. Like if every Apple user said, fuck you, I'm canceling my contract with y'all right now and I'm jumping over here to Android, Google.
But they won't.
Exactly. So people give up permission every day, every single day. So it's easy to say what I will and what I won't do, but we are actively giving up permission every single day. So when the shit hits the fan, there's going to be two lines. The line that goes this direction for FEMA and the line that goes this direction up to the motherfucking mountains. I'm going to be over here in the mountain line.
No, you
I know that's right.
You and Ivory are not going to the mountains. You're not.
I'm going to the mountains too.
No,
I am.
No, Stokely, you're not either. Listen to my point. Y'all not paying attention to conditioning. Brainwashing and conditioning goes over time. If you were going to go to the mountains, you'd already be in the mountains right now, because we're already in that process of conditioning.
I understand your point. It's a drawn out process that makes you at some point be like, shit, just charge it to the game and go and do what everybody else does. I understand that, but the chip thing and the Apple phone stuff, that's, I don't even like that overreach. Now, I missed last week's conversation about Chappelle and what you guys thought about that. Now, I found it quite interesting, and I liked it, but
you got to go back and watch it. You ain't dragging.
And it was a good conversation. We talked about a lot of interesting points, and I wish that there were some more voices to kind of answer some of the questions we had last week. But it was a good conversation. But to your point, Q, about you'd already be in the mountains, but that takes time, that takes money, that takes planning. And one of my favorite fucking quotes that I heard years ago was that we all cannot wake up at the same time, right? So everybody is on their own journey of cognition or tapping into whatever reality is. And I've definitely learned, even myself, especially through this whole vaccine shit with society, is that there's a lot of people who really and truly believe most of what they're told by the powers that be, really and truly. And so I think that situations like what we're all experiencing right now, people are tapping into their gut. People are saying, man, this shit just don't feel right. This don't sound right. Like, people have been calling me crazy forever, ever. But I used to tell my dad, years ago, why have you not bought us a piece of property up in the goddamn mountain somewhere? Like, why don't we have a cabin somewhere in the woods? So when all this goes down, we already have a plan. We just got to have a place to go. But that takes money. And if you don't have the money, at this point, all I need is a goddamn tent. I don't need a cabin. I just need a tent. But I am ready. Like my children have been taught for years. If shit hits the fan,
how to farm and till the ground and doing things where you could be off of the land and you could.
I could. Absolutely, I could. I absolutely could.
It's carbon monoxide.
But that's what I come from.
It's carbon monoxide already. You don't know till you're dead. You know what I mean? It's odorless. You can't see it. When they are when they are conditioning you, they're conditioning you in things that you think is just, oh, this is a way of life, or it helps me with my day. I mean, they already got a chip in your phone. You use your phone every day. They tracking where you going.
Yep.
They tracking what you buying. Your phone is your chip.
Yeah.
So it don't necessarily have to be the form of a chip.
Love you.
Yes.
It's a form of. It don't have to be form of a chip implanted in your body immediately, right?
It's tethered to you.
It's tethered to you. Think about it.
That's why I told you. I'm like, are you saying you gonna leave soon as the chip comes? Like, the chip already here. You ain't left.
Listen, I
mean, but we have an option to not use our phone. We have the option to not use a phone. Put something in the body.
If you had to go, if I had to go commit a crime tomorrow, I would know to leave that thing right here in the house so they couldn't triangle.
Okay, not taking my phone with me. What's going on?
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy that you say that because
they got chips in your car. You can't.
I was just about to say my car.
You can't even Uber because they're gonna.
My car did an update.
Like, hit the street, hitchhike.
Yep.
And Infinity
wear a hood because they got cameras at every gas station.
Infinity will ask you. Your car will ask you, "Is it okay if we track you through the GPS system?" Blah blah blah.
No.
In case of an emergency. But you can't, if you don't do it, your GPS don't work properly.
But hold on, Stokely. But this the other thing. Hold on, Stokely. When they ask you and you say no, do you really think that they tracking you?
Right.
No.
You said no, but
a court can pull some records and they can find out where you at.
I know because as I'm driving in my car is still on that line that's doing this on the GPS screen, So I know they still tracking me.
My husband won't do any Alexa, no voice command, anything.
Yep. Agree. Me too.
Your
me
TV,
too.
Your TV is listening to you.
She's listening all the time.
Yep.
And he's like, there's not going to be anything in my house listening all the time.
Yep. I'm with him on that.
But you think, but Ivory, that's still, you think that they not listening. Your phone's still listening and TV's still listening. Just because Alexa ain't talking back to you, that don't mean that they listening any less.
But it's only smart TVs. If you don't have a smart TV, right? So if you don't have a smart TV and you have a regular TV, you good. I won't allow Bluetooth devices in my house either. Well, my cell phone is the only thing that is a smart device. But yeah, we don't do any of those, like that Nest shit, that Nest whole home lights and automation. No, like my kids were so mad. My mom bought them all those Echoes a couple years ago for Christmas, and as soon as they opened up their gifts, they looked at me and they were like, "We ain't even gonna be able to use these, are we?" So y'all go ahead and sell them back, get your money back. We're not turning on them.
And we got to start thinking of technology in a sense of a phone. When you go to the doctor's office and you get your blood drawn, you don't know where they taking that blood and what they doing with that.
Nope.
You have no idea what you go to the eye doctor. They scan in your eye. You could be in a system that do eye scans. Don't know. Even the health field.
But damn, we can't walk around here without our spectacles and carrying on. I mean, I'd be no good without these.
They know it. They know that.
God damn.
You got to think about it, because like DNA, they track your, they go solve crimes 30 and 40 years old
with ancestry.
DNA.
Yep.
Of your cousin.
Wow.
Yep.
I know.
Y'all gonna make me get rid of all my TVs in the house. Y'all gonna make me stop wearing glasses. I ain't giving no blood. They ain't pulling no teeth.
They don't need none of them things. They don't need it. They don't need none of them. They don't need none.
Listen, they will track you by your cousin just going on Ancestry.com.
Yep. I refuse to do them things. Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't matter.
But you ain't even gotta do it.
Do it or not.
Yep.
Right.
One of your cousins do it, and they want to find out who is this age, a whole profile of you. They can just get your cousin's DNA to get a whole profile of you.
Do y'all know I went about 12 years without a valid driver's license? Like, it was never suspended. It was just invalid because I refused to put my fucking fingerprints on the little pad. You got to put all 10 fingers on the pad now when you get your driver's license.
Yeah, I hate that.
And the last time I'd had a driver's license, like, was when I was 16, and you just had to do the thumbs. So every license after that, I just did the renewal process. I never had to go in person. And then 1 year, my license was set to expire, and they're like, okay, well, you have to come in, and you got to redo this and do this. And I was like, I'm not fucking putting my fingers down on that pad. I've never been to jail. I don't have a criminal record. Y'all not going to get my... You goddamn right I drove. You don't need a driver's license to drive a car. You just gotta have key in the gas.
We do. Yes. We do. I'm telling you.
No, well, you getting pulled over, me getting pulled over is a whole other conversation, right? Yes. So, you know.
I can't say I ain't,
But what's so crazy is people don't even realize when you open your Apple phone and you got the security feature where you use your thumbprint or your face print, they got your scan of your freaking face.
I don't use them either.
They got your thumbprint.
Yep. I don't use those. The facial recognition, like when people put the fucking filters on their face and shit, I don't do those. When they do the little like characters on your face and the fucking bunny ears and the dog nose, I don't do those. Like, no. I mean, and again, I mean, it's not like they're not already tracking, because we know that they are, but there are things that we can actively do every single day to limit how much of this consent we are literally just giving away. Because as we've already talked about in other shows, they are mining all of that data. All of that shit is going somewhere. And again, they've already got it, right? We've already agreed to terms of service on every device that we use. But Stokely, something as simple as not having a smart TV. I mean, it's not that hard to do. Little shit like that is not hard to do, turning your phone on airplane mode when you go to sleep.
What's going to happen when the only TVs that are available are smart TVs?
Because that's about
they're going to stop making just regular flat screens or tubes. They're going to be, everything is going to be a smart TV.
You want a TV?
I mean, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 TVs in my house. All of them are on bunny ears. They will play the signal that comes in. If you are a cable junkie, a TV junkie, if you are programmed by television, you're going to have a hard time giving that up. I'm not one of those people. We haven't had cable.
TV, they just use your phone. They don't
right, but we were just talking about televisions and them becoming obsolete. But I think just more people don't have to do shit. But if you really want to, you do have to give up some of those conveniences of life that we have. And they're just conveniences. It's not like we're gonna not be able to fucking live if we don't have a TV, or if we, turn our phones off when we go to sleep, or we use an old school, alarm clock instead of a cell phone alarm clock. Like, I mean, I know it sounds kind of maybe stupid to pick up these little tiny things, but these little tiny things in every single household on the entire planet is a big fucking difference. So these little tiny things that we can do every day also makes a big difference when we don't tap into some of these conveniences. Keeping your cash and not using the card, keeping your change. There's going to come a time where somewhere down the line, a fucking Ozarka jug full of pennies in the closet might be what you use to barter your food system with. might be what you use to get medicine one day. And I know that thinking like that might sound crazy, but if we don't kind of prepare ourselves for some of what could potentially come based off of our sci-fi movies, we're gonna be in trouble.
On that path. We're on that path for sure.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
We're on that path.
Was it this group where we were talking about? Was it an Asian country? China was talking about doing like a character credit.
Character credit?
All I know is that was Black Mirror's Nosedive. That is one of my favorite Black Mirrors.
No, I don't know if we did talk about that.
Right, I know, and that's what they was already talking about in Black Mirror.
Using their camera systems, your phone, all of the systems that we're hooked up to, and character would start being a part of your credit.
That's on the episode. Nikki, go watch Black Mirrors. Go watch the episode Nosedive. That's exactly what it's about.
Sound like a Black Tea Talk conversation, because I don't recall having this conversation.
That is one of my top 5 Black Mirror. That might be my favorite episode.
Talk, but yeah, they were like, we would check to see if you litter, if whatever.
Wow. Nikki, that was a part. We had that in a parking lot conversation.
I don't remember that.
I remember that because it was already. I'm like, yep, it's happening already.
I just challenge people to try to think every day, what is one less thing I can do to be a part of the system? What is one less thing I can do to not depend on the system? And if it's something as simple as learning how to grow vegetables, learning how to grow fruits.
I need a garden.
Yes, and and you can literally start super, super simple with an indoor container garden just to make it really fucking easy. I would love to have a farm with acres and animals and all those things, but that's not realistic for me right now. But as long as I know that I can grow food, we're gonna be okay. As long as I know how to, start a fire, we're gonna be okay. As long as I know how to can fruits and vegetables, we're gonna be okay for a little while, and having batteries and solar panels and just the smallest things. My house, my garage is full of shit, but it's full of shit because I am a prepper, and I always think to myself, in shit hit the fan scenarios, how can I use these things that I have? And when we had that storm last year, we were unfazed. We really were. We weren't necessarily 100% prepared, but we were okay. Like my household, we were good. But I come from a family of people that are like that. So this is just kind of something that has always been ingrained in how we operate. And I realize that's not the case for everybody, but it is literally survival of the fittest. And if we don't get some survival instinct and some survival skills built into us and our children and our partner and whatever our tribe consists of, when those days come, everybody says, oh, I'm not going to go to the FEMA line. I'm going to go over here. But are you really, if you don't have a way to feed your children? Are you really, if you don't have medicine? Are you really, if you don't have, I don't know. But those are like the hard questions that you have to sit down and ask yourself is, I ask myself all the time, how long is my son going to live without fucking insulin? How many CVS's can I break into and try to steal their insulin that other people may have left behind? Or will there even be any? Do I have enough bullets in my house for the guns that I have? I mean, it sounds crazy to have to think like that, but we kind of have to think like that. So this whole conversation about Matrix and are we in it or are we not? Shit, man, we don't know when these things are coming, but with the way we're giving up what we're giving up, they're not going to stop trying to take power from us. They're not going to stop trying to take our rights from us. And ultimately, it's going to turn into a fight, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. I just want y'all to know that it's on the way and that you're already participating with it. That's all.
I mean, yes. I mean, we can't act like we don't. I mean, here we are online right now having a show, right? Using our mobile devices, tapped into Wi-Fi. So definitely. But this is where we use those things for benefit. This is where we use those things for good reasons. But I do want to talk about next week. I thought about this. I don't know if you saw me tag you in that post. I don't even remember what the damn post was about, but it was.
Oh, you tagged me in something that was interesting.
It was women's expectations. Is that what it was? Because somebody had posted something. It was a dating post, or it was a money related post basically. And I was like, ooh, we should do a whole show on just women's expectations. And then like the next week we can do a show on men's expectations. I don't remember what freaking post it was. I'll have to go back and I'll have to look. But it was interesting, and it just made me think.
We could definitely do that. I think that's cool.
So women's expectations, and that can be on anything. That can be dating, that can be friendship, that can be, male versus female roles, which I know we've talked about before.
I like it. Yeah, I could definitely trash a lot of people on that one.
No,
point out so many hypocrisies.
No, he said trash a bunch of people.
I just want people to get to the place they realize every person, even those who, I think everybody's pointing fingers nowadays, not realizing how hypocritical they are while they do it.
Right. True.
And maybe people are just starting to come to this realization, but I've seen it for a while now.
I've had to check myself a few different times here recently over the last few months with going back to the vaccine and all. I had to check myself. I had to dig deep and look at things. And I'm like, I think my biggest concern at the time that I ain't gonna say I was being hypocritical, but I was that,
at least you're honest about it.
Well, I ain't gonna say I was, but I was.
But I was.
I wanted to see my 70-year-old parents, and I was thinking like, well, damn, they safe, I'm safe. So I thought, but I was casting some stones and I had to check myself, but to each his own.
But that's being a grown up. That's being a grown up though, and I applaud you for that.
Yeah, I was coming down on some folk, and it was all.
I seen it.
Yeah. That's why I'm bringing it up right now. But I had to dig deep, because I do no wrong. I mean, you can ask people that know me firsthand, but I had to check myself, and I'm glad that I did, because it makes me think about things differently, and that's part of this whole, the free thinkers conversation and topics and things that we do, thinking outside the box, and I had to reevaluate some things, but I'm good.
That's what's up. And and shit like that makes me have faith in humanity for real. Things like that make me, feel like these conversations aren't just in one ear and out the other. And that's not to say that these conversations are changing people, or because that's not what this is about, trying to change people's, beliefs and stances, but just to expose people to, I'll take myself as an example, in the shows that we've had where it's basically me against everybody else when it comes to this vaccine. Like, the only reason I even engage in that conversation is because I want to be able to explain why people like me feel the way we feel, as opposed to just having the news bombard us with how wrong we are, or how dangerous those people are, or how ignorant those people are. And you may still feel all of those things, and that's fine too. But being able to just really listen to, not even a voice of reason, but just listen to somebody else's point of view, and really take some of those things to heart. Because if we really don't change some of our thinking styles, and that's not just with the jab, right? That's I think that's just looking at, our neighbors as our brother and our sister. We are going to continue being a part of the problem of the reality that we live in, as opposed to a part of the solution, and if we're not taking these conversations and we're not taking the opportunity to grow every day, then what are we doing? Yeah. We're just going to be stagnant for the rest of our lives? Like, I don't know, but I appreciate you for saying that, because, you didn't have to,
No, it did. I mean, even taking like our conversation that you and I had, and looking at it, not only from my point of view, but, from your point of view.
Right.
And that's what made me start to realize, like, okay, well, shit, maybe I haven't been a little hard on these folk. You know,
well, but you know,
like I said,
when you don't know, you don't know, and you only know what you know, right? So
exactly. So
that's why these conversations, I think, are so important, because people don't genuinely have these types of conversations. We usually only have conversations with people that think like us, that feel like us, that live like us.
Well, you know, and coming from where I come from, and most of the conversations that I have are with people that don't think like me in the sense of how we look at race and how we look at police brutality and how we look at the justice system and so on and so forth. So if I'm able to have a conversation like you and I had, and then this conversation like you and I are having, then it makes sense that either myself or the other person that I'm having the conversation with would like, hey, well, maybe I can look at it in a different way and even halfway understand what Darren is saying or Stokely is saying, you know. But those are the conversations that have to be had. And I find it in the work that I do that not too many people are willing to have that conversation. You know, we were talking about CRT the other day, and you know, you got people that don't even know what the hell it means or what it's about, and they're protesting, and they're, you know, I get it. You know, a lot of white folks don't want to have the conversation because they don't want their kids to know how bad it's been. You know, they don't want their kids to lose that that position. They don't want their kids to have to deal with potentially losing property down the road that has been given to white folks, you know, illegally. They don't want to have those conversations. They don't want their kids to even know about that type stuff. So, I mean, the conversations that I have a lot of times, I mean, it's like pulling teeth to get people to halfway understand or hear what you're saying. So, but yeah, I had to say, you know what? Let me look at this differently. Let me hear what Nikki's saying. Let me halfway try to understand what the hell she's talking about. You know, so that's what.
And it's, you know, and it's not about agreeing. It's just, you know, choosing to just hear what somebody's, you know, what and why somebody feels the way that they do, you know.
Right.
And I just hope, I really hope, and I know I say this a lot, but I always hope that I don't come across as like trying to shove my perspective down someone's throat. I may defend my position very passionately because that's what I do. I believe strongly in what is right and what is right for people. But never do I have an intention of, you know, trying to change somebody's mind or think that you have to think how I think because we engage in a conversation. But I certainly do hope that the people that I do engage in conversation with give me a little bit of fucking credit, that I know it's just a tiny bit sometimes of what I talk about, to know that if you are going to hear what somebody says, that you may trust a little bit more of what I say, because that's how I present myself, I think, in all situations. You know, as opposed to, I can see why people are very critical of, you know, taking information from other people, because maybe they're full of shit. Maybe that's you don't see them. Maybe you don't see them as somebody who does research. Maybe you don't see them as somebody who, you know, is knowledgeable on certain things. You know, maybe they are a flaming hypocrite, you know. I don't know. I just, you know,
my mom used to always say, you know, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use your ears. Listen, there's nothing wrong with listening. You may not agree with anything I say.
Right.
But at least be willing to listen or hear.
Right.
You know, and that's the important part, because once you hear and then you start to take it in and analyze things, and you start to say, oh, shit, well, maybe I can sit here and listen and, you know, and learn. That's the key, you know.
Yeah.
My thing is never, I don't want anybody to, I'm not trying to force the way I feel on people. I just want you to hear and understand why and how we got to the position we're at in this country. And why Black people, you know, we're not just bitching for the sake of bitching. You know, we have reason to say the things and feel the way that we feel, and not trust the police for reasons, you know. And so I don't know if I shared this with you. I have a good friend of mine who we're doing this podcast thing together with, and he grew up, his family's racist as hell, and he shared some things. I've known this kid for 20 years, And I never knew this about his family, but he shared it with me. He says, I've never told anybody, but his family would throw the N-word around just like it was saying, God bless you, that someone sneezed, and it was just that way. And so he grew up, went to Texas Tech, and finally realized that the people that he was meeting, they weren't crazy. It was his family that was crazy, but he's a good dude, so willing to listen, willing to learn, willing to read, and all those things. So, yeah.
Well, and I think that once we actually become adults, we realize that our learning almost starts then. Like, we were taught shit as children, but we learn once we become adults, because now we kind of get to pick and choose, what we're going to study or what we're going to research ourselves individually, Right. And I think that if you didn't go to college, you might not have gotten that opportunity when a lot of people who went to college did, because a lot of people say high school was teaching me what they wanted me to know. College was exploring the world, differently on my terms. And I didn't go to college, but it's just every day is a day to learn something. Every day is a day to engage with somebody else, and like you said, check ourselves. I check myself on a regular basis. I learn something from y'all every single show that we do.
Self-evaluation is very, very, very important.
Yeah, it's necessary.
Self-awareness is important. And like I said, with the conversation you and I had, I had to take 2 steps back and be like, "What? Well, damn, D. Scott, what are you talking about? You sound crazy to talk about myself." And that made me look at things differently. But like I said, I think it was more for me wanting to see my parents, who were 70,
right,
compromised and things like that. I wasn't blaming anybody. I was just simply saying, well, damn, get a vaccine, so I can see my people. But, yeah.
There's more to it than just that,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's why I keep hashtagging. It's more than a virus. It's so much more than a virus,
Yeah.
And I'm not just stuck on one piece. A lot of people aren't just stuck on one piece. We're stuck on all the pieces that we see this thing for what it is. So this giving up our rights and giving up our permissions and shit, man, it's just, I feel like it's a scary time we're living in. So Q, I'm gonna go with 20 to 50 years is what I'm going with.
Yeah,
20 to 50.
I'll be closer toward the end by that time. So.
But I hate that this is what we're leaving our kids to,
That's what gets me.
And our kids.
That's what gets me.
I'd be scared. I'd be scared to see what this looks like in another 100 years, with the Teslas and the Elon Musks and the Bezos and the rich billionaires who are just getting richer and richer and richer during a pandemic, and we're getting more poor and losing jobs, and our economic stability, is shattered for a lot of people. But these people are making millions every day.
There's a show, I don't know, somebody was talking about it on Netflix or Hulu or something, where the poor people are eating the rich people.
No.
Yeah, I forget what it's called, but I'll have to look it up and I'll let you know. Literally, and it's got a following. It's only been on for a few weeks now, but it's got this huge following going on where the poor people are plotting and planning to kill the rich and eat them, and so it's
wow.
I'll have to check it out though.
That's one of those other things. If you are unconcerned with people that are in a different tax bracket than you, that's another sign that you don't look for equality. That's what I say. I don't jump on it, and a lot of things, people don't care what happens to rich people because they feel like they're privileged. But again, that's fake outrage. Their life is just as valuable as yours.
I agree.
Because society treats them a different way, that don't mean you should look at them any lesser or they deserve it. Or I see it all the time. It's always selective outrage.
Always. Yeah, you're right. Q, you're right. It's always selective. Selective outrage. That's a good thing.
I was gonna just add one nugget to what Nikki was saying. Sometimes I think wow, what what world will my kids grow up in? And I think I read somewhere once, I just have to summarize it, just like whatever time you were born into, like you were made for that time. And so I'm like, especially those of us who are thinkers, who have really instilled greatness into our children, like they will be made for the times that they live in, and they will do great with them.
And I think this is a little different for us because we grew up in this transitional time to where we can visibly see how things were versus how they are. And it's like, since we've experienced both sides, then we see it differently. So when my children, they grew up in this era that that we saw the change, they were just already a part of it. So it may not be the same to them as it is to us.
Right. Yeah, a lot of the luxuries we have now that we didn't have growing up, they will have just been inundated with because that's the time in which they were born from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, like I was born in 70, and I think coming up from and my dad was a real big music dude. So albums, 8-track tapes, cassette tapes, CDs. We've gone MP3s. We've gone through all of that, where kids today, some of them may not even know what the hell an MP3 is. It's all, I got this song on my phone. And the only thing they know is that phone. The phone done everything for them. So yeah, we're made for the times that we live in. Where that it's going to be weird. Even the next 20 years, think about it, the next 20 years from now, these kids that are 17, 18, 19 years old now, they'll be in their 40s, and how much things will have changed in the next 20 years for them. So
unless they keep doing what they've been doing and retro that shit, and they're going to start playing records, and they're going to look for CDs, they're going to look for DVDs.
They won't know about throwback anything. It's going to be it's going to be similar for them, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's the struggle that some of us have, like interpersonally, is because we are, like you said, Q, we are a part of this transition of 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and so on and so forth. We come from an era where we might not necessarily have played 8 tracks ourselves, but our parents sure as hell did. They were in the house, so we know what they are. And how that's graduated on to now.
Not only that, us experiencing what we have and we seeing the change. If we didn't push back, then ain't nobody gonna push back.
But again, everybody can't wake up at the same time. A lot of people, I think, still just think this is just what you're supposed to do. People still think that the powers that be have our best interest at heart. Until
the thing that I think this is what's going to cause. It's funny. This is what's going to cause. Here's another one of my predictions. So this was kind of a small part. See, COVID didn't knock people out the way that other things have before, but people are not just going to wake up and say, you know what, we don't like the way things are going. We need change. What's going to happen is going to be some type of natural disaster that turns our government upside down.
So something catastrophic.
Something catastrophic is going, California earthquake, and it just fall off the face of the planet. And that's going to maybe I don't know where Apple is, but maybe if that's their headquarters and some other things get knocked off a line to where the government and the structure can't operate the same way it did anymore. And then it's going to be put in a position where it's going to be every man for themselves. And then that's when government is going to break down, and then it's going to be all types of chaos. But it's not going to come from people just waking up on their own. It's going to be somewhere the government has been crippled by some type of natural disaster or something that happens. And then that's when the
small Handmaid's Tale. Everybody stop being able to have kids or something crazy.
Have y'all seen on Netflix? There's a show called The Last Man.
No,
I haven't. Oh, we said we was gonna talk about something like that, right?
Check it out. It's called The Last Man. Yeah, check it out. He is the only man surviving after some viral attack happened and like killed every man on the planet, everyone. So literally, it was nothing but women left to run the country and do all the things.
Oh, so it's a bunch of women. So it's just he the last man, but there's still
he is the last. Yeah, he is the last man. It's nothing but women, but you ain't gonna go very far without no men, especially to reproduce. Like the male boys were killed, the children were killed, like anything male was killed.
So he have to have sex every day, 3 times a day. His soul.
No,
his whole agenda is just repopulate.
Just to repopulate.
He's still operational. They just need his semen. He does not need to have sex all day every day.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does. Ivory.
Always trying to steal somebody's thunder.
Do you think that's what women? Do you think that's what the women are gonna do? No, we don't want to actually have sex with you. We just want to. We just want your semen.
You would kill that man trying to make him please even one city of women. No, they just
one city, right?
Well,
one little quarter of town.
Let's start with like this: 2 to 3 times a day.
I mean, you would kill the man.
With 2 to 3 times a day, you can get
to reproduce.
You can have sex with roughly 1,000 women in a year, give or take. And then out of that, see, what do you think happened in the Bible? See, I these Christians who talk about
they
stuff,
were alive for like 900 years.
But what do you think? How do you think they were repopulating, Ivory?
They were alive for like 700 to 900 years,
and they were having sex with every woman who could be impregnated.
Dang!
All of them. How do you? It's not complicated. And why is that disgusting? Why is it disgusting, Nikki? Why is that disgusting? Why would that be disgusting?
I mean, I don't think it's disgusting. That's just a lot of sex. Yeah. I mean, this is a whole lot of this. I mean, everybody gonna be cousins. That's I don't know.
We might be at this point cousins.
And that's why he has to. That's why he gonna have to travel. It's gonna be like that at first until the boys start coming up, and then they're able to reproduce. That's what it's gonna be like.
They all gonna be half brothers somewhere along the way.
Well, and so the interesting parallel to this show is, what problems do we face in society if, and I don't want to say this the wrong way, if we are, what is it, the demasculinization of men, the feminine men, gay men, trans men, if men are not repopulating, if men are not getting women pregnant, and it's not like, we're at this dangerous threshold right now where we don't have enough men, but like it's the same. I mean, I can see how the parallels could be the same. You need men to have people. You need men to make people. You need men. You need men, period. And so we kind of look at this, men and women are the same. No, they're not. I don't need men. Yes, you do. Like you said, Ivory, the feminist movement being a part of the Matrix. Motherfucking house burned down. Who the first person you gonna call? Your daddy, your brother, your uncle, the neighbor next door, our man.
True. But there's still an agenda push that's lying to people, having them think that that's not true. So then how long are you gonna, some of that stuff is just designed to keep you off balance long enough to not realize what's real. And like, yes, I know we definitely need women. Women need men. But if you go listen to certain agendas who tell you that you don't, you're going to fight against your nature long enough to, I mean, maybe slow you down, stagnate you. I don't know what the agenda is as far as why they're doing that. Is maybe I think it's population control. So there's different things physically, mentally, and emotionally that they're trying to attack in all different phases to keep you either physically unable to reproduce or mentally not wanting to reproduce. But it's all part of the same agenda.
I agree.
But that's something we can talk about later. I think we are an hour over, so I think we'll
get out of here.
We can touch on that another time. But I definitely want to talk about that.
Let's try that one next week then. Next Tuesday.
I like it.
I got over here in the notes. I got.
I want to hear about the last man on the earth. How he gonna handle it?
I'm gonna have to watch. Well,
so then,
if you were the last woman on earth, how would you handle that?
And that can lead us into that post that somebody posted. If you were the last person on earth and you woke up, like, what would you do? So let's do that instead of like the whole women's expectations and shit. We get into expectations later. Let's do a little bit of some of that.
Scenarios. If you was the last man and it was only women, or if you was just the last person, period. There's some. Yeah, we can go into several scenarios with that. I like it.
And just real quick, have any of y'all ever seen what is it, Designated Survivor? Have y'all seen any of that?
I think I'm halfway through my second season.
Okay. See, I watched the first season only, and I stopped watching it. But that first episode just fucking blew my head wide open when I saw. I was like, Designated Survivor. So in talking about Q, how like natural disaster has to happen, that's the first thing I thought of. That is almost going to be the only way we're going to get a shot of rebuilding this country the way maybe it should have been built, or the way that it needs to function today, is burn that bitch down, everybody in it, and start from scratch.
Yeah.
Because the powers that be, I mean, essentially, I don't want to give out the spoiler if you're going to check it out, Stokely, but the first episode, it's like, damn, this is it. This is the solution. And how fucked up it is that would be the solution. But it's gonna take something like that for there to be the toxic characters wiped out, and the people that want to fix things stepping up and trying to fix things without the interference of
those that want to destroy it. Yeah, I got you.
Yep.
I'm gonna check it out then, because that sounds about like what my plan. What my season. I mean, if I could do it and get away with it, oh shit, it would have been done.
Hello.
But yeah. Oh, real quick in the comments, because I'm about to go lay it down. I got to play golf in the morning. If y'all get a chance, there's a book called The Pain Gap. I put it in the little comments to the side. I don't know if you see it, but it's about how sexism, racism, and healthcare kill women. Pretty good. The book just came out today, but I was reading some stuff earlier on before it was released, but it's actually really, really good.
The Pain Gap.
Yeah, The Pain Gap.
Okay. Yep.
So check it out.
Will do.
Big Daddy's going to bed. I'm going to go up here and get these clubs together.
Yes, we finna tap out ourselves. We finna jump out of here.
But this was a good night. It was a good topic, good conversation. And next week we'll be all prepared to talk about this last man thing, because this is I'm interested in hearing what everybody has to say. Shit.
Anybody got any closing thoughts before we close up out of here?
No, that's good.
Same old. Yeah, it's a good conversation. Welcome back to the conversation, Stokely. Congratulations on the wedding last week.
Thank you.
Moke had a baby, so congratulations, Moke, on the new baby. Smack's got a show tomorrow, so any of y'all that are local here in town, come out to Detour out off of Burnett Road, right across the street from the Domain. He's doing his Legend of the Gold Skulls tomorrow night, so come out to the show. A couple people from Black Tea Talk, and of course some of us are going to be out there tomorrow night, so come on out to check that out tomorrow. And that's it. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. I'm sorry?
Real quick, that t-shirt,
yes.
Free Thinkers t-shirt?
Yes, sir.
I like it. Can I get one without the U-neck though?
You don't want to wear your shoulders? You don't want to show your shoulders?
They can look good on me.
Yes, we'll talk about it. Yeah, we're gonna try to get some. We're gonna try to get some hoodies printed up, of course, too, because it's hoodie season. So hell yeah, we'll get you a t-shirt. But yeah, y'all just keep sharing the page. Follow us over on our YouTube. Our YouTube channel is Free Thinkers Worldwide. Follow us over there. Subscribe, of course. We will follow, subscribe back, share the love. It's reciprocal. And we'll see y'all next Tuesday, same time, same place, 8:05 next week. Y'all have a good night.
Y'all be good, be safe.
Night.
Thank you.